Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Pylon Show. In Control can't be here today, but that's okay. He is off in London, I think, playing in a Warhammer tournament, so best of luck to him. Hope he's able to take that down. But I'll be doing the show alone today, but not totally alone. Two good friends and amazing guests are here today. First, of course, Code S Zerg, no regret. Leader of the Foreigner Team House. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, buddy.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. We'll talk about that Team House a little bit later on. We got to do all things in their place. But of course, our other guest, someone fast rising within the StarCraft community, the Build Order Master, straight A student, although I was a little bit disappointed at A-. And I've been told I've been saying your name wrong. So is it E-Mini or is it Emini? Like C-N-N-M-E? How do we say your name?
It's definitely...
It could be Gemini.
E-Mini. That was my original... that was kind of my original goal with that name, but like the way you did it, honestly, I can see where you're coming from. So I'll agree with E-Mini.
Okay. Well, we'll go with that. Of course, a lot of help to all Protoss players out there. We'll talk about your build orders a little bit later as well. First, we got to do this week in StarCraft. Some cool stuff has come up. Of course, it was just announced that the BlizzCon behind-the-scenes tour will be available if you are in California at that time. The tickets go on sale on May 17th, so I think that's tomorrow in America. And that's going to be $50 per person for that opening week. It's a 1.5-hour tour where it'll take you through Studio 1, where the HGC matches are being played, with a special stop in the best studio, Studio 5, during the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series Global Finals, and you can witness a piece of the action. Apparently, it will show you firsthand how broadcasts come together during the live SC2 event, and you'll get to watch a little bit of the games, but not too much, because it's only an hour and a half long, so probably about one TVZ. And there's limited spots, so definitely get your tickets. So check that out. You can check that out on StarCraft2.com. To get those tickets. I'm sure that they will be going pretty quickly since there is such limited space available.
They'll probably instantly sell out, to be honest. They
you would think so, right? There's there's a lot of StarCraft fans in California that can get in there. And there's never actually been anyone at pre-week. I know, because I've been at all the BlizzCons. But people get to come and see the wild beast tasteless in his natural habitat, I'm sure. And it'll be fun, I have no doubt. Another thing happening this week, and this is going to be on, I guess, May 17th at nighttime, 7:30 p.m. EDT. Inside the Champ StarCraft 2 AI report. This is by ES Champ. You can check them out at ES Champ on Twitter. And it's going to be a discussion panel and interview with community members currently working on projects with AI and StarCraft. So that's actually something I'm definitely going to check out. That's the whole DeepMind thing, I find that to be truly fascinating. There's a lot of people working on AI in both StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2. So I think this is like an undercovered part of what's going on right now in gaming, in StarCraft, in AI. And so definitely check that out. And then, of course, the BTSL Season 1. This is going to be on May 18th and May 19th in Vancouver. $8,000 prize pool brought to you by Base Trade TV, and it's got its sponsors Ting, Dodger Coffee, and PeopleImages.com. It's a pretty sick tournament. It's got Hero and Impact from Korea, DNS and Petit Drogo from Europe, and then 3 open bracket spots. So I guess a lot of good players should be flying into Vancouver for that. Casted by Rifkin, Zombie Grub, Maynard, and Wardy. And there's a really cool caster portrait pack that you can actually get on Matcherino.com, which, by the way, is a sponsor of the show. Bam. And that's $5 until after the tournament. There's a limited amount, so definitely go get it. It's got in-game portrait of Maynard, and it also has adjutant portraits of Wardy, Zombie Grub, and Rifkin. So check that out on Matcherino. All right. That's this week in StarCraft. I feel accomplished.
Very elegant.
All right, we got that out of the way. That's where I read something during the beginning of the show to give everyone their plugs. Anyways, back to it. Guys, Challenger. In fact, we have a Challenger player here, no regret. But Challenger just happened for NA and EU for WCS Austin, which of course starts on the 1st of June. And the top 4 advanced. It was in studio, which was kind of cool, right? Like the players obviously were playing online, but the studio broadcast I thought did a nice job. Did you guys have any impressions from this event?
I thought it was great. Like, I really liked the in-studio broadcast. I thought they did a really good job of implementing it to look really professional, and it pulled in really, really good viewership, in my opinion, for Challenger. I don't think we ever really see, 20K for Challenger. So
Yeah.
I was very happy with the way they implemented the Blizzard Studio with Challenger. I thought it was a really good job in general.
Yeah, I especially like the casting as well. Like, people were gonna kind of memeing on the casting a little bit, thinking that like, no bully Hero Dragon, please. But like, honestly, it was enjoyable. It was laid back. It kind of made it just feel a little bit more. I just like that kind of casting in general. Usually, I like it to sound like an actual conversation more than like super real all the time. So it was nice to listen to that aspect as well. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good feedback on that. The casters, I saw I've actually kind of been on like a little break for a week, so I haven't gotten to watch this tournament yet. I saw on the Wikipedia page, it said that Cats would be there, but when I was clicking through the videos, I didn't see him there.
He was in some of the other ones.
Oh, okay.
Previously.
He was really good too. I really liked Cats too. Cats is actually one of the best at like what Gemini was talking about.
Yeah, definitely.
Like just being like laid back and just kind of just shooting the shit, but also knowing StarCraft pretty well,
Yeah.
So it was really nice listening to him. I really liked Cats. Like Cats is always one of those like big old school community icons in StarCraft 2, like one of those big members from way back. So it's quite nice to see him still doing StarCraft stuff. Obviously he's always been, but it's just been more behind the scenes than lately. So it's just nice to see him on cam.
The other casters, Fear Dragon, In Control, Nathanius. So obviously that was going to be a good event. The NA, and yeah, I saw what you said, No Regret, about the views. It seems like the views on everything was really, really good. The NA and EU views weren't really far apart number-wise or anything. And it seems like there's like two very good storylines within these two tournaments, right? Like the NA Challenger, of course, you were part of that, got top 8. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But the top 4, right, get flown in and they get their seeds into Austin. Neeb, of course, won the tournament, but second place Masa, and then third and fourth were Puck and Scarlet. But it seems like Masa was a fun storyline here, huh? Is this true that he actually went proxy barracks against Scarlet all 5 games?
Yeah. I actually didn't watch. I heard like because when I played, it was like 5 or 6 a.m. and I just played Masa. And I lost, so I was like, oh, man.
Was he proxy raxing you?
No, he would never. Okay, that would be like...
yeah, that's right. Speedlings would show up.
That would be the craziest thing. If he ever proxy raxed me, he would feel the pain. Okay? He knows his place.
Yeah. He has to play defensive macro games against you.
But it was funny though, even though like you say that, but like he was still like moving out sometimes or like leaving his Hellion just like randomly at the ramp to let you surround them and stuff. So like it wasn't even like some of the games were like kind of close even.
I think he gave me a little bit more credit than he thought. Like he thought I might have macro a little bit more than I did, but yeah, it went okay.
He didn't respect the full meme.
Yeah, he didn't respect the full meme.
Well, I mean, that's the fact that he is going proxy barracks like basically every game and then taking out Scarlet. And then I don't know if this is true. Okay, I heard that he proxy racks against Neeb a little bit as well.
There's a lot of that actually. When we talk about that series, I can kind of go into
Please.
a little bit more because it was super interesting.
Yeah, because he brought Neeb even to 7 games. So however you do that is legit, okay? Because it like takes, I mean, Neeb just won the Hangzhou thing, right? Like he took down Rogue and Hero and stuff. He's a Kespa Cup winner. The kid is beastly. He's the greatest of all time amongst the non-Koreans, right? So can you walk us through that series a little bit, Gemini?
Yeah. Okay. So the Neeb series with Masa was like this was like full meme, like Terran style instead of like like No Regret stuff. But like this was a lot of proxies, like you said. It was he was doing it against Scarlet as well. But like this time he was doing like meta proxies a lot, and this is something that Maru did in GSL actually versus Stats on what is it? I think it was like Abyssal, I think. And like he did a proxy outside of his base with normal setup though. So it looks like when he went in to scout Protoss that is Neeb, you see nothing, assume that proxy Reaper, proxy Factory, whatever. And then so you're like you don't expand, you kind of stay in your in your main base, you're like making robo and stuff like that to counter and whatnot. And Instead, he's just making everything outside of his base, like literally at his third or whatever, you know? And so like he wasn't trying to all in with it. He just eventually floated stuff back. Like he made a command center at his natural. He's like, I'm not doing anything. Like I'm just sitting here. And so like he did some meta shit like that, and then he also did what did he do? He did like actual proxies though. Like, but like this is the cool part though. He would do like a normal 2 racks or something, or 3 racks with Marines or something. And then Neve's like, oh crap, let me deal with this. But then the next game, he did the meta thing where he it looks like he's proxying, but then he's actually not. So like there was a lot of cool stuff like that threw Neve off.
Yeah, that sounds really strong. Like in general, if you're gonna mind game Neve like that, because Neve likes to just be the brick wall that you kind of have to fight against. But he takes a lot of damage early on for like no reason a lot of the time. So he kind of overreacts to a lot of the defensive stuff he should do. So if you kind of screwing with him by proxy raxing him and then pretending to proxy him, like he will overreact, like it will happen. I think he prefers to be safe than to be dead, you know?
Yeah, and it was interesting too, because like Neeb is someone who like I've seen like as a like ever since he's been a Protoss player, he's someone who like sticks to a plan, and he's just like super solid in like what he actually knows. And when he has to improv like heavily, like super improv, he gets really like thrown off. You can see it very clearly. And this was like super obvious on Neon because Masa did the proxy whatever, and then Neeb responded by doing proxy Stargate with like shield battery void ray to like go up the cliff or whatever. Like Masa was just like 3 million steps ahead of him. He just like went there right before the void ray even finished, killed it, and then Neeb just left the game. Like that was just what he like. He was like, okay, I'm gonna try to do this reaction because I think this is what you're supposed to do. But like Masa, like he was inside of his head. It was so cool to see.
Would you agree with this assessment, Jake? Being someone that's spent a lot of time with Neeb and knows a lot about his play.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. Yeah, I think the biggest thing about this is Neeb's race changing days have been a long time ago, but realistically, when you race change, you don't have as much experience in every situation as someone who hasn't race changed. Even if you just changed it like 2 years, 3 years ago, like there's been people playing Protoss for 7, 8 years, you know? Like those people have a lot more experience in those weird situations where Neeb does not necessarily have all that experience. He's getting there. Obviously, he's really, really good. But you can see it sometimes where he's not necessarily prepared for everything. He's obviously insanely solid mechanically, though, so he can make up with that for just being a brick wall and just being really, really good. But crazy things can get to him, for sure.
Yeah, like and it wasn't even the proxies either, because like there were proxies throughout the game or throughout the series, and like some of them were just like on Blackpink, he just put it at the natural and just played a completely standard game though, but like kind of tried to do a little mind game. But Neeb didn't really fall for it that much that time. But then he went into mech, and like Neeb was like he just suddenly lost like a bunch of probes to 2 banshees that he shouldn't have, because like he didn't have his observer ready in his main, so he lost them there. And then there were like probes like long distance mining from his third for whatever reason, and the second banshee comes over and picks all of those off. So like he gets really ahead in that regard, and then he does the absolute strangest thing I've ever seen in my life and transitions into Blink Ruptor versus mech. Like he sees that it's mech and says, I'm going Blink Ruptor. And like I was just like blown away.
Oh, okay. So this is after he lost all those probes?
Yeah. He loses the probes or whatever. It just looks like Cloak Banshee opener. You could go bio off of this, like, or mech. And so then he scouts. He's got like double forge, like normal stuff after Blink Robo opening. And then he sees he confirms it's mech and goes into Blink Disruptor.
Yeah.
And like
and
like you could see where it's working. Like the whole point is that like you get Blink Ruptor because then you can be extremely offensive with it. You can versus the way that Masa was playing, it's actually quite good. But it also like it has such a small window where it actually works, and any mistake fails immediately. You basically, as the Terran is trying to slow push you across, you're just constantly shooting Ruptors at him and forcing him like around into like unsiege and resiege and stuff like that. So like you can just continuously take pot shots, and like you saw it work in the first like 2 or 3 engagements. But then once he got to the like into Neeb's bases, like you could just see it was impossible to actually engage into it. And that like if he just went normal, charged out Archon Immortal, and then into Sky Toss, like he would have rolled, honestly. So it was just it was such a strange. It felt like he was trying to style on him, and it in the seventh game as well. It kind of looked like he eventually started to do that as well with like going into like a Phoenix transition. So like there was like elements, and I've seen this a lot with Neeb too, where like he tries to style on people that he thinks he's way better than, and it's kind of funny. He throws games every now and then. It seems like.
Well, I could see going into the Blink Disruptor as like a crossed wires situation if you lose a bunch of probes, right? Because it's like one of the best things to come back with. It's like putting all your chips on black or something when you go Blink Disruptor against Terran, because you get like 1 to 2 really good Disruptor hits. And you're like, I'm right back in the game. Look at that. Oh, so sick, right? So it's like a good comeback, but against Mech, that sounds incredibly weird.
Exactly. Like, because Mech, it's like, you can get those 1 or 2 shots, but since one mech units are so large, it actually like the amount of units you can actually kill with a Ruptor is so much smaller. And 2, everything with tanks and Liberators outrange Disruptors unless you're shooting from out of vision and get a good flank or something. You can't like if you ever get stuck and you are entrenched, you can't break that. Like it just doesn't. You are going to lose inefficiently in that engagement.
To be fair, you probably would lose with any army if you're kind of stuck in a position where you have Liberators and everything kind of coming down on you.
But Charged Lot Archon Immortal is still like you can make better use with it instead of Ruptors, in my opinion.
I think the biggest thing for that,
blink in and they melt immediately.
Charged Lot Archon Immortal, you need to have a really good economy for in general because you need to be able to replace that army relatively quickly. And I guess you could say the same from Disruptor, but Disruptor in general has more elasticity. I feel like it comes back a little bit more. Like it's not just like a full committed fight because you have Disruptors, you're throwing them forward, and you're backing up usually. You're not fighting. So you can have that like comeback moment like Arteza said. I think that's probably the biggest thing, honestly. If you're fighting into a mech player with a worse economy with Charged Lot Archon, you're probably dead. Like, you're probably dead.
Yeah, that gets pretty tough.
The mech player
up 2 upgrades.
The mech player is just going to sit there. You know he is. Like, he's not going to attack into you if you're going to Charged Lot Archon Immortal. So he's just going to have a better economy, and you're going to have to fight into him. It's just going to be shit. So my guess is that's the situation. But
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Also, I saw one game. I don't know, like, because I didn't see all chronological. Right? Because I fell asleep. What was the deal with the Nexus on Eastwatch?
That was I
don't know what happened there.
There's nothing. Like he just tried to hide he tried to hide it at the gold first. So he went over and canceled it or whatever. Because I keep trying to call him Maru because like his name's actually Maru, but it's Masa. He actually did a 2 racks. Like he canceled the Nexus on the normal spot. Neeb tried to put it at the gold. It got scouted and he canceled that. And so he just put it in the most random place he could think of that wouldn't get scouted, but it got scouted and it just dies. But Neeb's Protoss, so he won anyway, right?
Yeah.
Good analysis there. What's kind of interesting about this, right? Not only did Massa beat Scarlet by going 5 proxy barracks builds in a row, and then also use a lot of mind games and stuff. If you look at Neeb's overall run, right? He lost a single map in group stage to Jon Snow. He 3-0'd Panda Bear Me in round of 8. He 3-1'd Puck, right? So he had almost 0 trouble up till Massa, who seems to be playing like next level mind games or something like this. Like, is this the correct way to be playing against someone like Neeb, who is so clearly the best or second best non-Korean player right now?
I think this is the way you play one time, but if you keep doing this every time, like Neeb is extremely smart. Like he's very good at knowing what you're going to do if you play a specific style. Mm-hmm. Like you can roll the dice all you want, but if all those dice faces have the same stuff on them, like he will figure it out very quickly. So I think this is the right way to play if you want to steal a challenger one time. But if you keep doing this every challenger, we're not going to continue to see 4-3. I can promise you. I think it was really smart from Masa because I know he tweeted stuff like, "Oh, I'm playing League of Legends, blah 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 blah," like you always do if you're a Terran player and you don't deal with the patches. But that's a smart thing you do if you're in that situation. It's
is it the tweeting or the cheesing?
I was about to say
both. You got to cover your tracks. If you lose, because you can just lose 3-0, or 4-0.
Yeah. Hey man, he was playing Overwatch in Cheeseadelphia like one time, and he was like going to the finals.
To be fair, I think he's one of these like ultimate gamers that just plays everything. Like when I was playing Heroes of the Storm heavily to cast that game, I was pairing up with Masa all the time. I'm like, wait a minute, are you StarCraft Masa? Don't you have tournaments to prepare for? It's like, no, I like Heroes. I don't know.
Yeah, he's really just good at games for sure. I've seen his Overwatch like level is really high too. League of Legends really high. He just plays everything. And I think he's also one of those players that doesn't need to play StarCraft all day to get better. Sasha is also another example of that. Maybe it's a Canadian thing. Who knows? But
possibly
it does seem to be that way. He's actually in Korea now. Right now.
Is he?
I'm gonna go visit him today.
Oh, nice. You can tell him we were talking about him and all his proxy barracks. I can ask him what he thought about that. So overall, the top 4 players from NA Challenger, like we mentioned before, ended up with Neeb, Masa, Puck, and Scarlet. Is this the strongest set of players really we could get out of that? Were there any things that you would consider upsets or players you would have rather seen there, aside, of course, from No Regret Kodesh Zerg?
I think this top 4 is pretty much the best it can be right now. But like you could argue some of these players are better at certain times in their careers. Like I wouldn't say that I'm deserving of the top 4 spot for sure. But I think someone like Semper could have definitely made it in. He's really good, but he's just like a full-time student. There's no way. I think in a different world, Scarlet would have came, potentially first too. Like it's possible. Like she's just so good sometimes that she could just smash everybody and come first place in Challenger. But I think overall, this top 4 is not surprising at all. I think this is pretty standard and pretty to be expected.
Yeah, okay. I look at it and nothing strikes me as like this is out of the ordinary. Like the arrangement of who is top 4, I could see changing, especially if T-Rex was anything. But like none of those 4 players I see are like you aren't supposed to be in the top 4.
Yeah.
One thing that could change if True is in Challenger, because True should maybe usually be in Challenger. So maybe like Puck might lose to True. I see Masa maybe losing to True. I think Sasha would never lose to True, but she does. So all of them could lose to True, I guess. I think most likely it would be Puck replaced with True, but this is not an abnormal top 4.
Speaking of which, I almost forgot to bring this up. True, due to WCS rules, True had to choose to either play in the WCS circuit, which is WCS Austin, or GSL Codas Season 2. Obviously, like, Scarlet got to play in both. So do we have any actual information on why this is that True's not allowed to play in both?
I mean, I know why. It has to do with, like, your requirements as a Korean citizen to play in WCS events where you need to have a month before the event. You need to be in Canada or US or wherever you are.
Okay.
So if you wanted to play in Challenger, or I think if you wanted to play in actual WCS, you're right, in Challenger, he needed to be in the country a month before the Challenger. Okay. So he had to like either leave right before his GSL match or, play.
Okay. So like to play this, he would have had to miss his GSL day?
Exactly.
So you have to be there for a continuous month then?
Yeah. And it makes sense as a player to pick Korea GSL if you've qualified already. Yeah. Like the 3K is more than enough to make up for losing Austin Challenger because you're still playing in Austin. As long as you arrive a month before Austin, you still get to play in it.
Yeah, and it's only $1,600 for first place of that.
Exactly. So it's just a smart choice by.
True. Is that only for Korean citizens?
That is only for Koreans. That's
so that wasn't because Scarlet was out here, right?
Yep, just Koreans. We don't even go back. We just play WCS Challenger from Korea, right? Like I did that.
Yeah. So that's okay. Is Masa a Korean citizen or a dual citizenship? Do we know?
Masa's a Korean citizen. I think he's getting his Canadian citizenship this year, but he's in a special situation. I think they made an exception for him because his entire StarCraft career, his entire StarCraft life has been in Canada. Like it would actually
he still can't play for Nation Wars.
It would actually just be insane if he couldn't, because he wouldn't be allowed to play in anything because he just lives in Canada. So it should, I think the same situation happened with Pili, because Pili's from Kazakhstan.
Oh yeah,
it's just like, well, if we bar him from playing, like his entire StarCraft career has been in US. It doesn't make any sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay, expert, no regret here. Thank you for clearing that up.
To get a job on the U.S. Embassy. Like.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh,
The,
WESG always screws Mario though. Always.
Oh, does it?
Like he has to be a Korean for WESG. He said
yeah.
Nation Wars. He has to play in Korea for Nation Wars, and yeah, we were pretty sad about that because he'd be a great Canadian.
That's interesting. That for Nation Wars he has to play because right, like if Blizzard decides that Masa can play as a Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nation Wars, which you have to accept that O Gaming is a smaller organization with less, bureaucracy than Blizzard. You would think that they could allow him to play it for Canada.
I agree. That doesn't make any sense. Like he's in Canada for 10 years or 9 years now. Like he's on the border of getting his. He would get it this year, and we made this argument like, hey, he's going to be a citizen this year. He's already a permanent resident. He lives here for 10 years.
Yeah.
Why? And he's like, well, do you have a passport? And we're like, what? That's the criteria of having to be a Nation Wars player for that region is having a passport for it. But yeah, next year maybe.
Yeah, I guess maybe they'll let him do it. Any final thoughts on NA Challenger for you guys?
It was enjoyable. Like usually,
all right.
Like usually, no. Like I say that kind of like sarcastically, but usually I watch like NA or EU Challenger, and like I'm just not as engaged just because it's not Korea, and like if it's not Korea, like it's not the best. Like that's the thing that people have always said. So like I don't know, I enjoyed watching it at least though. Like it was like the production value itself of the actual event definitely helped in that regard. I think it just made it feel a little bit more like it gave it more serious vibe to it. Because usually, like Challenger was like the ladder qualifier, and then they just like run through the playoffs and groups really quick in like a weekend or whatever. Like that was last year, right? So like it just did it was so easy to just completely miss it. So like I enjoyed how it was like multiple weeks this time, like it was in studio and all that stuff. So like they're making good steps to make it seem like a more legitimate preview to a WCS event.
Yeah, it actually feels like they nailed it in that regard because I know that Blizzard obviously wants Challenger to be like a big important tournament, and in the past it never really felt like that to me. It's like it's just got like a bedroom cast, and it's just like, well, you get a spot for this tournament that you could just fly to and play anyways. Like it just, I don't know. Challenger always felt really weird, but this time I actually was like, oh, this is exciting, kind of. We're seeing clips pop up. You got some guys in studio. Yeah, everyone's playing online, but I don't know. I feel like they actually found a nice stride with this one finally.
Yeah, I want to say something as a player for Challenger. As a player for this Challenger has been one of the most comfortable I've ever played in a Challenger. Like a lot of the time they just throw you an email. You're expected to show up on this specific time, and then it's like very static, like the rules. But right now, I feel like there was always an admin there to talk to. Mm-hmm. I remember like hitting them up. I'm like, hey guys, like I'm the third match. Is there any way I don't need to show up at 3 a.m. to play at 6 kind of thing? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. Like we'll call you on Skype and wake you up if you want us to. And I was like, that's awesome, Like yeah. I feel like the old admins would be like, no, you are here at 3 or you're disqualified. But they've been great, all of them. I've been really happy with like how smooth it's been running, like no delays. Usually Challenger, it could be like 2-3 hours delayed before. Like it was a proper shit show. Like before, especially, don't want to throw you under the bus, DreamHack, if you're listening, because I love you guys, but you guys, WCS Challenger was terrible. Like, it was terrible. Like, I remember waiting in those channels, could be 4 hours before the admin would show up and do everything. I don't blame them, like, there must have been something wrong, but, like, it's been really smooth with Blizzard and really, really happy with it as a player.
That's great to hear. All right, with that, let's jump on to the European Challenger that just concluded as well. Same type of group in that studio. The top 4, of course, Cyril winning in unfathomably dominant fashion. Euthermal in second place. Hero Marine and Petit Drogo, the players that ended up in the 3rd, 4th spot. So those 4 will get their paid trips. And to put this in perspective, Cyril 4-0'd his group, which, by the way, had Petit Drogo and Bly in it, right? So that's 2 very high-end players already, right? And then he 3-0'd Stefano, dropped a map against Hero Marine, only 3-1 there. Yeah.
Guys,
he's at a slump.
Yeah. He slumped there in one of those games. on Catalyst. And then against Euthermal, went 4-0. And Euthermal and Serral, we saw this big stink going up about it. Euthermal thought that was very painful, and people were like,
Okay,
what are you talking about? Of course,
so-
Serral beats you, but turns out they're very close in record. But
So like, can we talk about that more than even the match?
Please.
That was so crazy that this happened.
Can you
like,
outline this
especially on
for
Reddit.
everybody?
So Euthermal and Serral play in the finals, right? Euthermal gets dumped 4-0. He then like does some XDs as he leaves and stuff, which is like totally criticizable. Like that's like, make fun of all you want for that, because that's just unsportsmanlike, I feel. And then he goes on to Twitter afterwards saying something to the regards of, this is not directly quoted, something about like how he thought that he was evenly matched with Serral and that he wanted to show better games, something like that.
Oh no, it was way worse than that. Let's be real.
So then fill in what I didn't say.
I thought you said evenly matched, at least evenly matched, or maybe even favored.
And did he balance wine too in the tweets as well, or?
It was like
no.
I'm trying to look for the exact tweet, but basically it was a little bit more like he was upset that he didn't like do better, which is understandable, even though he was slightly favored over Serral or whatever. And usually, like, you can say that, I'm fine with that, that's fine. But even if you have an even match on a Ligulac or something like that, does not make you, slightly favored or even with that player, in my opinion. That's a little bit insane to say. And I think that's why a lot of people were giving him so much shit, right?
Yeah, but like a lot of people also weren't giving him shit because like they weren't even looking at that at first though. They were just saying like they were just riding the Serral hype and just being like Serral's an untouchable god, and like they was like, dude, no way, Euthermal, you're not on the same level as him. But like it was just weird to me because like I feel like he would know his own skill better than people on forum posts and whatnot, like that don't even really play that much. That's not. I was kind of kidding with that, but like. So, like, did he even say specifically about his, like, practice games, or was he just talking about tournament results? Because, like, if he was practicing games with Serral, like, non-tournament practice games,
I think he
was going
specified.
even,
I think he used a Ligulac as the example, or someone used a Ligulac. I don't know if it was him directly.
did that as the example.
The Muslim got smashed in that Reddit thread. I remember waking up and the Europeans are like, "Yo, guy," like in the house, they're like, "The Muslims listening to a Redditor on Reddit." And we're like, what's going on? And I remember reading like this huge like thread about it, and I was like, Jesus! Like
he got taken out by a Redditor, huh?
No one listens to a Redditor. That never happens because you always have like the instant upvote for people like, oh, that's the Muslim upvote. Like
yeah.
Getting taken down by a Redditor never happens.
Ripped the Muslim, poor buddy.
Yeah.
Oh. But
I just feel like the amount of hate he received for the comment saying that he was uneven was like not super justified, but it should have been more aimed towards like the XDs. Like I feel like that was more of a criticizable thing than him just wishing that he would have shown better games. Considering
I think it was the tweet was a little bit more condescending than it should have been, but I agree. I think the biggest thing was the sportsmanship for sure, especially if someone in your own region, like, I don't know, man, like especially one of the better players. Like imagine me versus Neeb, and I just do XD. Obviously, I'm not as good as Neeb, but like, it's
fucking
pretty.
Protoss can't. Oh, I can't link ban. I'll win every game.
Yeah, it's pretty disrespectful, and especially in WCS Challenger, like we see Blizzard pumping in all this like support, and it just makes sense to be as sportsmanlike as possible for Blizzard, for the fans, for everybody.
Guys,
even if you're angry.
Just to bring this up, okay, so we actually just brought it up on the stream. The tweet was, gotta say, regardless of lack of preparation, still feels pretty terrible to lose 4-0 to someone you're usually even with or even favored against. Shit is gonna hurt for a while.
Yeah.
Is that bad?
It's not that bad.
That's what I'm saying.
Just,
it just seems like someone who's just kind of frustrated after a game. Like, I don't think that deserves like a million meme Reddit threads about him, and one of them being like a ladder like flipped upside down and be like, oh, this is the only way Euthermal can be better.
Part of it is I think part of it is the Serral hype for sure. There's a lot of Serral hype. I think a lot of people think Serral is considerably better than Euthermal by tournament results or whatever it may be, by Slade Koreans. I don't know what it is. I think they aren't actually as huge of a gap as everyone thinks. I think there is a gap, don't get me wrong. And I think Cyril's ZVT is worse than his other matchups. Like if you compare Cyril's ZVP versus if Euthermal was a Protoss, right? And he said he was evenly matched, he would be like classic. You know what I mean? Like that's how good he would be. So it's a bit disproportional. ZVT a lot harder to practice in Europe. So I understand and it makes sense that Euthermal would be pretty even with him. But I think it was mostly the sportsmanship, mostly the way he conducted himself. Even though the tweet wasn't that bad, I don't think you usually tweet something like that after losing to your opponent. You know, it's not really that good, especially after doing XDs in the game.
I think it is a little bit hard to tweet like despite lack of preparation and be like, I should have been able to take maps or something.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Are you trying to go both ways? It's like I didn't practice and I should have won more maps, and it's like, well, I mean,
that's
obviously you're frustrated, so it's okay. Like I actually like seeing emotions out of pro gamers. It shows that they care. But
yeah, he's very, very emotional. Like I had him here at the house, and he would, very evidently get frustrated on certain people losing to certain people, and then losing to certain play styles. But I don't fault him for being emotional. I think he does need to keep his emotions under check when it's a very professional match. Just mostly for him, honestly. I don't think it's good for your health to do stuff like that and have the community criticize you for it. Like it's really hard.
I think it makes things more fun when people are letting their emotions range free a little bit. I don't want a bunch of robots like we had in the Kespa era, right? Where like when all the Koreans were on Kespa, they're like, I'll try harder to show better games. And it's like, oh my God, this is terrible. I see why people like Counter-Strike, they scream when they win and they get salty when they lose. And I like to see the emotions. And the thing is, I know Euthermal pretty well. I think he's unquestionably the best non-Korean Terran, right?
Maybe special, but close.
Yeah.
Close.
Oh yeah, special too. Yeah. I forgot about him. But,
he's definitely one of the best though.
They're the best two non-Korean Terrans. So he's like very good. He's the best Terran in Europe for sure. Obviously he's frustrated. The tweet is like a little bit off. The XDs, whatever. I get it.
You get it.
I get it, man. It's you lose these matches. You get wrecked by someone.
Would you XD day 9 in WCG?
Fuck yes, of course I would. You kidding me? He runs lurkers up my ramp or something, man. He gets XDs. XD. None of them capped either. Were they capped for Euthermal?
No, they were lowercase.
See, that's the way to do it. So Euthermal knows. Okay, you got to have it be lowercase. That's how you really show. That's like just a little bit of extra resentment if you aren't wasting your time pressing the shit.
It shows that you don't actually use XD non-ironically if you do it in all lowercase. If you do the actual like lowercase x capital D, then you're like showing I'm like
you're putting too much work into it too. Yeah.
Exactly. There you go.
You're trying too hard, which is what Euthermal wish he had done in that second tweet about. I
think overall though that was not that bad. Like, I think it could have been handled differently, but honestly, getting shit on for being frustrated is not a bad reason to be shit on. You could have been shit on for a lot worse.
Yeah,
I think so.
Totally.
Yeah, no, that's about it all. That's all I have to say. I'm glad he didn't get worse, and I'm glad it didn't get worse. Like, could have been worse. He could have been like, "Oh, you're such a shit player" or something. That would have been really bad, especially
we don't need to go full of illo here, all right?
It was like borderline, like getting there, but I think it's hard to keep your emotions in check.
I don't think he would be someone to go that far, but maybe
I think it's possible.
I do.
I think it's possible, but he would only do that when he really believes that he's favored against somebody.
So overall, with the stats, to get away a little bit from poor Euthermal here, who already took it pretty hard from Zero, what do you guys think about the overall results here from Europe? It's kind of interesting, right? We're in this funny place in StarCraft 2 anyways already, where like all the Terrans balance line and all the Zergs balance line, and like Europe is known as a Zerg heavy region, but here we have 2 Terrans making it into the top 4 and stuff. Like, what are your guys' thoughts on this overall, the results here with only 1 Zerg being up there?
I think
go ahead. I don't have much to say.
I think this group is pretty to be expected. Like, I think the challenger group stages could have been different, but like when we get to the round of 8 and it's this list, I think it's pretty expected. The one difference I would say is I think we expect to see a laser getting into top 4 here instead of Drogo, but a laser was playing from here, so he had like literally 300 or 400 ping. Like, I don't even know how he made it. He made it first out of his group with 400 ping. Like, that's actually insane. But he did that. Yeah, he did that, and then obviously Drogo had a lot more time to prepare for this specific match, and then not more time than Elazer, but he had more time knowing Elazer's in Korea. He can abuse that. Like, that's something that's super abusable. So he prepared a little bit differently and took the series. I didn't watch it, but I assume that he was very good at abusing the fact that Elazer was in Korea.
Okay. I find that kind of interesting because obviously you're someone who has to play from Korea a lot in these tournaments that are overseas. What would be a way that Petit Drogo could prepare? Let's say you're Petit Drogo, and the thing is, he's actually a very good PvZ player. He's always been one of my favorite non-Korean PvZs. But what would be an example of quote-unquote abusing that latency difference?
I think abusing is a very tough term, but I think like using a lot of adept shades and stuff like that, and all these different bases, kind of pulling your opponent apart with ping is a lot harder to deal with in general. I don't know what it is. Obviously, it's the delay between your actions that really screws with your mind even. Like, I find that when I play with ping, I may be reacting to everything properly, but my mind just feels off. Like, I'm not 100% sure if I did react to that.
It's so weird. This is why I can't even play with like 200 ping or like 180 ping. Like, when I'm playing with ping and like it's a very noticeable, like I can't do anything. Like, I'm doing stuff that looks like normal, but like just the fact that I'm doing it, like it's registering like a second late, makes my brain think that I'm doing something wrong, and I play like 10 times worse. It's so frustrating.
I think the biggest thing with like what he said is like it really fucks with you. It fucks with your play. And then on top of that, like just dealing with harass is a lot harder. So if you're doing Warp Prism stuff, Archon drop is really hard to deal with if you don't have roaches. So you're already forcing your opponent to go roaches almost every game, right? If you go Archon drop. There's no way in hell you're going to play like Ling Hydra Bane versus Archon drop. It would be insane. Like, you'd never be able to pull your Lings back. They'd always die. So you're already forced to play a specific style that you can metagame it, you can prepare for it. And then on top of that, you've got drops, you could do charge auto lens, whatever it may be. Anything that you need to micro, it gets really hard to deal with. So those are ways you could abuse it. But I think, Elazer kind of signed up for it by being here, and Drogo doing that is not a bad thing. Like, I think that's the way you should do it. You should do your preparation. You should know where he is.
Yeah.
If he's in Korea, abuse it. That's his fault.
I mean, I absolutely agree with that.
But yeah.
If he's out there getting all that extra practice, you may as well have some edge, right?
Yeah, I'm impressed though. Like, this is the first time we've had a challenger from Europe go so far from our house, because we've had others. Like, Zanster qualified for challenger once, and we thought that was impressive.
Yeah.
Like, he did not get out of his group, but he laser smashed his group 4-0, and that was, or like 4-0 in the series, which is insane.
Kid's pretty good.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to kind of point out that I find interesting about the European results, and maybe this is just my impression, but since Stefano has kind of like been taking it a little bit more seriously, I feel like his name is popping up everywhere, and then he's losing a hard ZVZ like every time. Is this accurate? Because this is kind of exciting when you think about it, right? This is actually one of the greatest of all time non-Korean players. And probably, as far as personality goes, the most exciting player we've ever had, right? He's like the non-Korean MC or something, right? So I don't know. I find that kind of exciting, but ZVZ has never really been his strong point. And it seems to me like it's always something like this, right? He gets out of actually what is a very tough group that, you have to beat Hearthstone to get out of the group. That kid has amazing PvZ. And then just hits Cyril in the round of 8, and it's like, oh.
I think the biggest thing there is the Zerg players in Europe are really, really good. Like, they're really good at ZVZ. It's such a Zerg-heavy region as well. Also, Stefano is just really good at late game, right? Like, he's really good. ZVP late game, like, you always see his clips of just smashing a complete Skytoss army, not losing anything. Like, that does not happen very often. But the thing is, ZVZ, there's not much of a late game. Like, your early game to mid game is always where you're deciding a huge edge for the other person. If it goes to an even game in the mid game, it's usually ended. Like, that's when you see the Max Roach versus Max Roach fights. It's when you see Hydra Roach versus Roach Ravager, whatever it may be, right? Like, you always see the mid game push, and then one person's way ahead for the rest of the game. So in ZVZ, Stefano, a really strong late game player, won't be able to use that late game advantage because he'll either be taken down in the mid or early game. And it's not a fault to him. It's just that Zerg players, especially Sterile, are really good. Elaser would abuse him every time he plays him. Like, you will see Stefano go down early to mid game every single game he plays one of these players. And it sucks. Like, I think he just needs to work on that. But that's why you see him so dominant in ZVP, ZVT, because you can actually just force those games into the late game. But you can't force ZVZ into the late game.
No,
it's not a thing.
Certainly. Maybe he should get some rogue replays. That kid gets to lurker almost every ZVZ, man. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, he should.
Well, any other final thoughts on EU Challenger?
I didn't actually really watch any of those games, so I don't actually have anything.
All right. Thank you for the honesty.
That's honestly why I wanted to go right to the drama.
Yeah, no, I get you. Well, that was the best part, right? As always. That's what people really want to hear. They don't care about how great the games are.
Updates on Reddit.
I know.
One thing is that I want to talk about real quick. Because I'm just looking at the results now. DNS coming fourth in his group seems pretty insane, but I guess his group is really hard. DNS is really good. Like, we're talking like one of the better Protoss players in Europe, and that's already a pretty big feat. But other than that, I think Hearthstone could have gone either way with Stefano. Like, it's nice to see Stefano take the edge there, but I could have seen it going either way.
Who is this Hellraiser guy, by the way? Because, like, when you said DNS got fourth, I had to take a look, and I'm like, wait.
Showtime.
Yeah, right? So he killed Showtime, and that's why DNS gets fourth, probably. But, like, I actually don't know much about Hellraiser. I've seen the ID, but I can't even place a game that I've seen of him.
Yeah, me neither. I don't really know much about Hellraiser. I mean, I
just like a pretty good general, like, solid EU GM.
Yeah, but like high GM, like Showtime level, or like mid GM, low GM?
That's not what I've.
Well, if he's in here, he has to be pretty high tier, right? Like,
I think
or he PvP'd his way into.
And then PvP'd Showtime, yeah.
PvP can be quite the meme, as we see, Emotion beating Hero twice in GSL qualies.
Yeah, which we will get to next.
Hellraiser did PvP his way. He beat Namshar. Namshar really good.
Yeah.
Then he beat Space Marine, was a Protoss player, 2-1. And then he beat DNS 2-0 to qualify.
Wow.
So
he just got a really solid PvP.
Maybe he's got the special. Maybe people should be watching him for PvP.
Yeah.
We should tell Hero to watch his VODs.
Play against Hero.
Oh man, that was especially painful, that poor Hero thing. But we'll get into that in just one second. Okay, so EU Challenger, quality stuff. I think Blizzard totally nailed it. I think everyone should be agreeing with that. These in-studio broadcasts with the games online, I think, are like super duper awesome. And I mean, again, this time I didn't watch it, but next time I definitely will. I've just been taking a bit of time off. But if you want to read some recaps on that as well, the WCS page, wcs.starcraft2.com, Cyan, a big content producer, has written a couple articles on that. And in fact, they've been doing a lot more content written from people that everyone knows in the community. So kind of cool. So jumping forward to GSL Code S. Let's take a look at that, guys. This is the real deal right here.
This is the real StarCraft, guys. All the other shit we're talking about, unimportant.
That stuff is super duper real too. Those guys are sick. But this one's exciting because we just got the round of 16 groups last night.
Yeah, we did.
And first, before we go over the round of 16 groups, I do want you guys to both kind of take a look, because my assessment is that we only had one upset for players advancing, which I would put as Patience over Scarlet in her group. Do you guys agree with that? And do you see any other matches, any other groups that you think were actually upsets in regards to the two players that advanced? Not the order, but with the two players that advanced, should anyone else have advanced the round of 16?
No.
I think theoretical upsets, the only person I think that actually may have made it out is a Laser versus Bjorn. Is very possible. Don't get me wrong. It's very possible. The end series was 2-1, and Elaser had a chance to win that game.
Totally.
Like, statistically, obviously, Bjorn favored. So that may have been an upset the other way around, right? Like, if Elaser had made it out, then it would be an upset to Bjorn. Obviously, a little bit of foreigner bias there. But other than that, I think everyone else is very to be expected. you don't see any real upsets besides Scarlet versus Patience, which I would have said Scarlet should have came out first in her group, not third.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
it was pretty crazy.
Gumiho
actually.
good, but like very possible for her to make it out.
So
Yeah.
go ahead.
I don't see anything that was like super. Like I would, like, obviously, No Regret is good friends with Scarlet, and they have their meme coaching together. But I've always been someone who's underestimated her personally, and so like I didn't see her advancing or not advancing as like the biggest upset. But that's just my own personal, like, I've always had a whatever reason, I've just always underestimated her. And other
I
than
think
that,
if you were the most pessimistic person, like you just like hated Scarlet, I'm just saying in
she's
theory.
good,
I mean,
so
in
it's
theory,
not out of reason.
in theory, I still think you wouldn't say, okay, she's gonna lose to Patience, especially when we saw Patience like tanking like very recently. I defeated him in a challenger or in GSO qualifier, like. That's like some pretty low level stuff, right? I'm pretty sure 12 pulled Baneling all into him or something crazy. Didn't make any sense, but yeah, I would not expect her to have. I really was scared though after the first 2-1, like going into this group. I thought no way, not even close, right?
Yeah, no, okay, yeah. So when
But
going
after
into
watching
group,
the first 2-1 in the very first series, I was like, okay, there's a very real chance she loses in the rematch, very real.
Yeah.
And I was telling her, I'm like, hey, like you need to be paying attention. She's like, no. I got this. I'm like, no, this is very possible. And she's like, no, I got this. I'm like, I was like, oh shit, this is gonna happen. You know, I was very worried because like Joji took out a serious series against her. Like those games were all really close, and he looked really sick. So I was like, it's possible. Like it's very possible.
Yeah, like going into it, like I saw it and I was like, yeah, like Scarlet will advance. Like I even did that on Liquidbet. Like, but then, like you said, when I saw the first series, I was like, never mind. Like, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
there can still be
Joji looked
something
really good.
Like,
yeah.
So like, it waned a little bit. Like, and after now, I'm saying like after the fact, like I look at it, and I'm just like, yeah, it was not really that big of an upset. Like, but it kind of I went back and forth a little bit as well. So that's the only thing though that I'm looking at where I'm just like that is clear. Everyone else, I predicted exactly who got out. So like there's nothing that surprised me.
So to take the logical leap from here, right? So if we had basically one upset in this round, and we should add in the fact that Root Hero did not make it into GSL for the first time in forever. It's like actually insane. He lost to Emotion.
He was one GSL off from getting an ST award.
Yeah, and wasn't he gonna get the parting award too or something where you get like 10 round of 16s in a row?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Then he'd have to be round of 16, but like that's
well, I mean, he's Hero, right? So like you assume.
Yeah.
But I mean, you assume, and then he doesn't make it, so he gets the Supernova award, right?
He got super screwed.
Yeah, Supernova, the first guy that got 9 in a row and then dropped out.
Is that a thing? I didn't know.
Well, that's something that I dubbed because we were all ready for Supernova to get the second ST award, and then he just didn't make it, and we're like, what the? Oh my god! Like this of all times. But so taking a look at that, right? So we have 15 of 16 making it through on basically everyone's predictions. Of course, Hero didn't make it.
I want to say, on top of the upset it being, I think Patience played an insanely good series. Totally. Like I was insanely impressed. Like I am very happy. I'm obviously huge friends with Scarlet, but like I'm very happy Joji made it out, and he looked really strong. So like even though it's an upset, I think he's one of the best players to make it through instead of her. Like if it was Lysira, no shitting on Lysira, but like. Not as good as someone like Patience in these games.
Not impressing you with those random Lingolins and.
No, he was like me. If I had gotten through, like then we'd be like, okay, well this GSL looks amazing, except for this guy.
Lysira interviews though are truly the best.
I cannot like describe to you the amount of like awe that went into my brain when I heard him talk for the first time after he kind of like came back. Like remember we all used to think he was like some little kid, like you know this the son of Nesty or whatever. He's like some cute kid, and then he talks. He's got like this sick, manly voice. I'm just like, holy crap! Who are you?
Yeah, he's wearing his like jean jacket and glasses.
This dude's like massive.
And he stands up with perfect posture and stuff, and like his shoulders are spread. He's just ridiculous. That is a man-zerg right there.
That dude is like the epitome.
But yeah, sorry to derail you. I thought it was definitely a notable point that I think this is probably one of the best GSLs we've ever seen in competition.
This is what I'm trying to get at, right? Like, if you look at who is actually qualified to the next round, the Four Horsemen of Terran and Gumiho, the GSL champion, is like the fifth guy that we talk about Korean Terrans, right? You have Rogue Dark Su Solar. Who's the fifth best Zerg in Korea?
Maybe Impact.
Yeah, I agree with that. Occasionally Buell, probably Impact right now. Okay, so like that's the guy you're missing from Zerg. Okay, I think we're good on Zerg. And I mean, then you go to the Protoss, and everyone's there except Hero. Like every top Protoss is in the round of 16 except for Hero, and then we have Patience that kind of snuck in there. And it's like these are all complete StarCraft 2 All Stars. So it's just like I don't know. I look at that and I get very excited about it. And yeah, go ahead.
There's so many good players, and we have 2 groups of death. Okay, it used to be that one group of death, and then all. It honestly, I remember watching or reading it, and as it came up, I'm like, "Holy shit, Group B is insane." Well, I guess all the other groups are easy. Group C, Dark, Classic, Trap, TY. I'm like, the fuck. And then they still have more players left over. Like you still have the Stats, SOS, Beyond Gumio. That's also a group of death. I'd say Group 1 or Group A, clearly the least of the insane, and that's because Maru was able to choose and pick and choose where he wanted everyone to be.
Dude.
And that's still a hard group. Like it's insane. I'm so excited for this round of 16.
Yeah. Well,
this is going to be by far one of the most competitive round of 16s I've ever seen. By far one of the most up and down round of 16s. Like if anybody predicts Group B or Group C like with a really good accuracy, that's insane. Because these groups are very fucking close. As someone who knows StarCraft really well, I'm gonna self-proclaim that. These groups are extremely hard to predict.
Yeah.
Like Su, Deer, Innovation, Rogue, that is not an easy group to predict the top 2 on. And if you do, you're a genius because you can't be like, I knew it was going to happen. I refuse to.
Dude,
I reject that notion.
I already know it.
I reject that notion.
Well, here, let's go over these groups because it is insane, and I like your passion here, and it's well called for. So, Group A, obviously Maru had that wild card, right? The group is Maru, Patience, Solar, Zest. God, seriously, you say those names, you're like, well, when I see Maru, Solar, and Zest in one group, I'm like, well, there you have it. Like,
that's by far probably the easiest group. It may be as same as Group D, but I would say it's close to the easiest. And when you look at that, and you're like, if you didn't see any of the other groups, you're like, dang man, Group A is tough. You're like, shit. I'm glad I'm not in Group A.
What are our thoughts here on Group A?
I'm just like blown away because like every single time I look at these groups and I'm just like I am like every single one of these groups is a group of death, and I'm not like that's not even an exaggeration. And like I also always look at these and say like, okay, this is the time where Zest plays and he's finally gonna prove Artosis wrong that he's like actually slumping. But then like I look at his record, like this is honestly kind of ridiculous. I didn't actually notice this. So like in online cups recently, Zest has played a lot of them since his round of 32 group. He's 17-5 in matches and 35-15 in games in online cups. And like
these are Korean online cups, right? So
so like Ulmo League, there was like People Image thing or whatever, Kung Fu Cup.
Right.
So like, and they were all versus Koreans, like all versus top Koreans. And some like Chinese like people or whatever.
Right.
Like dispersed throughout. So like there were only like a couple like main losses. Like he did a couple like random O2s to like Keen or whatever, and like an O1 to MMA. So like his PVT seems to be kind of weird. But like that's not even that big of a deal because like it's Maru, so like he's kind of gonna win anyway. So like that's a pretty okay matchup to not be that great in. But like his PvP and PvZ are like nuts right now. Like every single time I look at him, I'm just like, okay, yeah, he's gonna like he's finally slumping. But then I'm not gonna be surprised if he just like wipes the floor with whoever is not Maru in this group.
I think the scariest thing for Zest is Solar, in my opinion. Like, if this was someone else, if this was Impact, then I would say, okay, Zest, go for it. You got this group. Second place easily. Solar is one of the best CVP players out of everyone. Like, I will say that Solar may be better than some players like Su and Dark at ZVP. Like, he's just disgustingly good at playing ZVP. And watching Zest versus sort of, like, those series were a lot closer than they should have been, in my opinion. Like Zest did take the wins 2-1, but like, I mean, I guess sort of memed him with my build, but still, like those late game builds, like they looked pretty strong. So I would say that Zest is gonna have a huge uphill battle here. It's possible. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not counting Zest out completely. Maru obviously a clear favorite for first, and depending on how Solar versus Zest goes, I think that will dictate who comes out second. If Solar versus Zest goes one way, like that person could come out second in the group. So
yeah, that was me as well too. Like with Zest, because like I saw his round of 32, and I was thinking that he's in really bad shape especially with the Zanster series, or was it Zanster or Laser?
Sort of.
Sorry, I get
Yeah,
all the foreigners.
I get my sweets mixed up too.
They're all the same. So like I saw that and I was like, yes, Zest is something. It's time. And then I look at what he did after that, and I'm thinking he's honestly fine again. Like I don't know what to think with these groups. Like every single person looks like they can just dominate the group, but they also look like they could just flub sometimes. I don't know. Like I don't get it.
Is flub a real word? I have to derail you here for a second.
Yes, flub's a real word.
Flub?
I'm gonna Google it.
Yeah.
Right now.
Okay, it is.
Yeah, flub. It's like what you did in your
Botch or
GSL group. Come on.
something.
Hey.
A noun badly or
Which
functionally
GSL group was the question?
I'll let you fill that in yourself. What is the prediction for you guys on this Group A? Because I look at it's like you say, man. Like I look at all of these groups, I don't even want to predict anything. It's just like Maru, Patience, Solar, Zest. Okay, you say clear Maru first place. I don't fucking see that as clear. What are you talking about? First off, Patience could kill him. It's a best of 3. Patience has time to prepare. It's another week before we actually even see the match. Like Patience is going to come with some solid build orders, solid mechanics. You know, if Maru screws up, he's going to die there.
I think if this was someone who wasn't Maru, you could prepare for him better. But like trying to prepare for Maru is insanely hard. Like Maru, he's just so abnormal in the way he plays. Like he just doesn't give a damn, honestly. Like he plays the way he wants to play, and it's really hard to prepare for it. You can't just be like, yo, TY, like I need help with this match. Can you play like Maru? Like that doesn't happen, right? No one plays like
micro
Maru.
your fucking brain out on
Like,
10 different fronts.
Can you
throughout
actually
the entire 30-minute macro game? Please.
Yeah, like it's just impossible. Can you nuke yourself to death by just dropping a million nukes on your armies? Like it just doesn't happen. So if this was someone else, I would give him the benefit of the doubt that he could prepare for them. Maru really hard. Plus he only has 6 days. If this was the last group, maybe he'd have even more time to prepare for him. But the first group, 6 days from now, like it's not enough time, I think, to actually take the win versus Maru.
Okay.
You could if you're right though, you need to rub it in my face because this would be the most insane prediction ever.
I'm not saying that Patience is going to beat Maru. I'm just looking at that and I say that is not 100% victory for Maru.
Yeah, I would say 95.
Any means.
I say
okay,
98.
that's insane. 95. What'd you say, Gemini?
98.
98% for Maru.
I'm gonna go for 95.
You two are fucking mad. You two are crazy. You guys have drank the Maru Kool-Aid, okay? Maru is like 70% there.
To what Redditors are to Feral, I am to Maru right now.
Me too.
Yeah. Well,
too.
You guys are a couple of fools because everyone underestimates Patience, man. He's good.
I think this group is first place is Maru, and second place Solar in my prediction.
Dude,
Zest is second.
But these are hard predictions. I'm not saying it's clear. I think it's almost 50-50, like Zest and Solar. And Patience still has a potential. Like he could still come out second. The problem with Patience is he's extremely unpredictable in the sense like he could be up here or he could just 0-4 out of the group immediately, right? Like it's very possible that he's somewhere around here. Like he could have just been playing really well against Scarlet. Who knows? So
I
love
what Oligalac says for Patience beating Mario or Mario beating Patience.
What's it say?
88% for Mario winning.
88%. I would say that that's a little bit.
Well, Oligulac didn't think that Rogue was going to win all those tournaments in the last year, and I did. So I'm going to go ahead with my predictions instead of numbers.
So you're not predicting Mario though. Still, you're just predicting percentage.
Well, no, I think Mario will get out of the group. But,
or you're not predicting Patience, rather. Right?
No, I'm not. I don't think. Well, the thing is, I can see everything getting screwed up. I can see every match going either way. Absolutely. Like, let's say that Solar and Maru both win that first one. Patience could kill Zest. But Zest can also win the group. It's just like there's a lot of wild cards in here,
That
but
is
this
literally
is the
every
easiest
single
group to
group.
predict. Actually, no, group
This
D
is-
is easiest
this-
to predict.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's Maru Solar. That's my personal prediction, but it's
Okay.
by a couple percent. Like it could very much go the other way around. Like if someone told me my prediction was wrong, I wouldn't be like, "Well, fuck, man, you got me." I'd be like, "What the fuck you want me to do? Do you think I'm Jesus?" Like it's impossible for me to predict this
Yeah.
accurately.
Okay. Gemini?
Yeah, I'm saying Mario Zest. For like the same exact reason and the same exact background, like Zest could very easily get switched with Solar. Like I wouldn't even
Yeah.
bat an eye. Like literally every single one of these groups, I can't predict. Like it's not like the 32 round of 32. I could predict those pretty easily.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking,
Well, that's what makes this so unpredictable, is that
Exactly.
round of 32 was predictable and did get predicted that way, so it's like too hard. Here's what I think, right? I think it's more likely that Solar and Zest get out of the group than Maru and Zest get out of the group, in my opinion here, right? I can see Zest. I find the hardest matchup here for Zest to be against Solar. So I almost feel like Solar needs to win the group for Zest to get out in a way. Because I think that Solar is better at this matchup than Zest. Okay?
I agree. And I think
Yeah.
another big thing to think about is if, for whatever reason, say Solar goes down the first best of 3, he has a second best of 3 to come back if Zest doesn't come out first. So
Yeah.
the second best of 3 is going to be really scary for Zest. I think it's really, really hard to come out of that. Like, Solar is such an amazing comeback person, too. Like, it would be really hard. And if Solar comes out with a victory against Zest, too, like, that's another thing. So it would be working against him for sure. That's why I think Maru is Solar. But that's a very good point, actually. I think I would almost agree with that. I don't think Maru Zest is as likely as Solar Zest or something like that.
It's hard to see Zest actually put the nail in the coffin of Solar for me. And the thing is, I can see him losing PvP to Patience, too. Some of these fancy Protosses in Korea are making too many dark shrines in that matchup. Man. It's just not working out.
I think Zest. I would actually give Zest. Like Zest is actually possible for beating Maru too. Like that's a possibility. So I would like it's. I would like to see that.
Every single match that happens in every single one of these groups is a possible one-person.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking for this for a long
time. I know. Okay, we're moving to Group B.
The group.
We're moving to Group B. This is the groups are just too good. I don't know. We better be getting 100K concurrent viewers on GSL for this round of 16. This is just wild. Okay,
crazy, man.
Group B, one of the two groups of death.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that one of the after we talk about all the groups, we'll talk about Group of Death. But anyways, Group B: Sue, Deer, Innovation, Rogue. Talk to me.
I think if this was the round of 4, I wouldn't be surprised at all. You know, if all these players got to the semis, I'd be like, okay, this is fucking good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm insanely excited. Also, Sue versus Deer, Innovation versus Rogue, like. Oh man, it's just so exciting.
It's the perfect matchups.
Yeah.
Even the matchups I look at, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I want to see actually. Exactly that.
Exactly, yeah. I think it's so hard. I think Innovation versus Rogue, I think is probably the highest percent for Rogue.
Yes.
Like 60%.
Agreed.
Sue versus Deer, I would say is Sue favored, but at the same time, like.
And I think Sue versus Rogue is Sue favored. I think it's going to be Sue in first place and Rogue in second place in this group.
Is it really? You think?
Yes.
I mean, I think it depends on where Sue is. I think if Rogue comes out first, then that's Deer's best chance. But Rogue is just such a monster right now. Like you don't want to be against Rogue in the.
Rogue's not losing this group, folks.
Yeah, like if Rogue is in the losers, I would say he's coming out. Like I don't care who you put in there. You can put anyone from any group, like maybe someone else. Like if you put anyone from any other group in the losers finals, and it's Rogue, like you're having a bad time. So best chance for anyone else in this group is Rogue comes out first, and then you can take out Sue, which is possible. I think Inno versus Sue is very possible. Like Sue can lose to that. I think Sue versus Deer, it's very possible. Not favored, but possible. So I think your best chances is Rogue first, and then the second place is like a 3-way tie, in my opinion, with Sue being the slight edge over everyone else. Like maybe 6 to 7% higher chance.
Okay.
Yeah, I do want to say that I think a lot of people are sleeping on Deer like completely. Like there's been a lot of like in the GSL in the round of 16 thread, everyone was kind of saying, "Oh no, deer, like deer in the headlights," kind of thing, you know.
Oh, he's a deer in the headlights. Oh, he is.
I agree, but like they're saying it, I think, to a point that's a little too extreme. I don't know. I think he's still like someone who's really good and can have some good showings. Like he's not someone who's like the very clear fourth player that a lot of people kind of seem to be saying. Would I be surprised if that happens? No. Would I be surprised if he gets out second of the group? No. Like he's still someone who's had like pretty good form. Like he's only been improving recently ever since he kind of came back. Like he just sort of appeared randomly again last year, right? And so like ever since then he's always been improving. He did really well at Katowice. I don't know. I think he's got a good shot, but I would still put like Rogue first, and then everyone else is kind of battling. But Rogue could still also very easily not get first either. Like that's every single group. Every single group, I'm going to say that.
One thing is, if Rogue doesn't get first, like me and Artos have said, there's no way he isn't coming second. I refuse to believe it.
Yeah, no, Rogue will make it out of this group. Okay, and Innovation has his fingers crossed that Rogue wins the group, because then Innovation.
Yes, I think everyone does. I think Innovation's best chance. Everyone's best chance is Rogue first, and then it's a three-way like battle.
Everyone's best chance is Rogue first. I agree with that. That's so funny. Okay. Group C. To move along a bit, Dark Classic Trap TY.
Okay, this is. I'm gonna say I think this is the group of death. Like if we could pick one, I think this is the group of death over B personally.
I do too.
Because
I don't.
I cannot.
But I think the only reason why I don't is because I think this group is way more evenly matched than the other group. Like I think the monsters in the other group are better, but I would love this group. I think is way more up in the air. Like this group is way more even.
Yeah.
There isn't that monster where like, well, if you're in second, you're just getting out, which we're saying with Rogue, right? Like Rogue and Sue and Innovation, like all these players are disgustingly good, and Rogue is like clearly the best because he's just a champion in every right. Like the group B, I think, is the group of death, but I think group C is by far more interesting. Like by far.
I cannot look at this group and say this is a 100% first, this is a 100% second. Every single one of these players can get first, second, or lose.
I agree.
It's actually insane. This is the most evenly skilled group I've ever seen in GSL. Like I think ever.
Yeah.
This is by far the most evenly like placed group of death I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Like there's always that like, okay, this guy's getting first in the group of death. Like this guy is the reason why it's a group of death, right? But that's not the case here. It's actually insane.
The only one that I can think of that comes anywhere close to this is the Parting Life, Flash, and who's the fourth person in that sick group?
I think I remember this.
Do you remember that? I can't.
I remember
people
that
hyped
group.
that to shit. I can't remember the fourth.
That was a hypeable group, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It was rightfully hyped.
I would say
that's the only one
level.
that I put close to this group. Honestly, it is so close. Like people also like. I appreciate that Artosis has been bringing this up. We're getting on the Trap is the most underrated Protoss player in history hype train. And people were kind of like looking at him and don't think he's actually that good, but especially versus Dark. But him and Dark, ever since Legacy, they are 13-13 in games versus each other and 3-3 in matches. These are like two of the most evenly skilled players that we have in the round of 16 on like just by themselves. And they've been like trading games back and forth consistently. And I'm honestly super excited to see that because every single time it's something new and interesting. Like last time in the round of 32 of last season, Trap was looking like amazing. He had like a sick hold in one game versus like a Baneling Bus or something. I think that was one of those games. But then one of them was like a really long macro game. And then he did some like shield battery adept cheese on Odyssey, and I was like, I've never seen this before, and that could have easily gone either way as well. So like, this is like, oh my god, I can't wait for that match. This is gonna be so. I can't even conceive as to what they're going to do, but it's gonna be so close, and every single other one of those matches is gonna be equally as close.
Yeah, this group, I think the least close match is Dark Classic. I think that's pretty Dark favored. Classic, I feel like he's missing a little something against a player like Dark, but. Other than that, I'm like, oh man, if there's any edge anywhere, it's so small. It's just, it's like so hard to predict that group.
Yeah, that would be a group where you would not want to be a better or something because
It's like,
Yeah,
it's like
it's
I look,
impossible.
the matches that they have are really good too, because it's like if it was Classic versus TY, I'd be like, okay, I think Classic will take TY, but TY versus Trap, I'm like, oh, I think TY might be a slightly favored over Trap here, and then Trap Classic would be like insanity PvP, and TY Dark, I mean, that's going to be an hour and a half of craziness. Like, how many secret missiles does it take to kill a Broodlord? We're going to find out. I don't know. That's
This is actually post. This is post patch, right? With the Raven missile.
Yep.
Yeah.
So like
Patch came out, right?
that'll also change the dynamic.
Dark
of
got his
TBC.
wish.
Yeah.
Dude, Dark's been going ham on that balance line. Literally every moment he gets, he's like, Ravens are broken.
I mean, too. Everyone, like, to be honest, they are. Like,
no.
This
I
is not
agree,
a
but it's just
question.
like every single time that Dark has an opportunity to speak, he says it. It was just really funny.
Stu too. Stu is insane. I remember we went to a meeting at Blizzard Korea, and like somebody asked him, like, because this was an interview, and someone asked him about balance, and he was very like, every other answer is just like yeah and like no and like oh, I feel okay, like whatever. And then as soon as someone was like, what race do you think's the worst? He's like, oh, don't get me started, and just goes on and on and on about Ravens and seeker missiles. And I barely understand Korean, but I just understand, like, he's so passionate about it. There's no other unit. I'm like predicting in my mind he's talking about Ravens 100%. And then I asked Sasha, and she's like, what is he talking about? And she's like, yeah, he's talking about Ravens. And I knew it. And yeah, that's very much like Sue and Dark have both been like super on it about complaining about Ravens. Like, I've never seen them whine this much ever. For good reason, to be honest.
Like, was right all along.
The patch is out. Quick predictions on Group C, guys.
Jesus.
I can't predict this fucking
Who's getting
group.
second place to Trap in that group?
Thank you. That is what I want to hear.
If Trap gets first in this group, that would be amazing. But oh
Put
man,
all
I think
my money on it.
I want to say Dark is getting out of this group, and I want to say TY is getting out of this group. But
That's my general feeling.
yeah, it's so hard.
But it has to go certain ways. Like Classic
Exactly.
versus TY is like, oh my god.
Like Dark. Okay, here's my thought process. Dark versus Classic. I think Dark should take it. It's gonna be close. It should take it. Not a huge upset though if Classic takes it the other way. If Classic takes it the other way though, my prediction, throw that out. Like, that's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like TY, it's just not happening if Dark goes to the lower bracket. Like, I don't think I guess TY smash Trap, smash Classic, but I don't think that's possible, man. Like, that's very hard. So I think Dark has to take game 1 or series 1.
Yeah.
TY has to take series 2, and then Dark versus TY clash, and then
And then they beat a Protoss coming up.
yeah,
Awesome.
and then maybe it's so hard, man.
Okay, so this is my take on it. I legitimately think Trap is getting first, and not only because he is my fanboy, like, of choice now, but like, so look at this Dark Classic. That's pretty obviously Dark. Like, you can kind of see Dark would be the one advancing from that, right? Because Classic obviously complains about PvZ all the time, and he's always had troubles versus Dark and people like that.
Mm-hmm.
If Trap beats TY and it's Trap Dark in the winners match, that is 100% winnable for Trap because they match each other very well, and either of them could take that, and Trap would go ahead first. After that, I think then Classic is number 2. If he can somehow squeeze past Dark again, but I don't even. That's the thing where I'm just like, I
TY
don't even
versus
know.
Trap history score 27-11 for TY.
Yeah, I know it's kind of rough. I agree, but like, that's what I'm saying. If he can beat TY, I think Trap goes. I think if Trap beats TY and Dark beats Classic, I think Trap ends up in first. Personally,
I agree.
If not, then I think it's going to be hard for him to get second because his PvP is his weakest point, and Classic is Classic is like the ultimate PvP right now. I know you're shaking your head.
Good PvP, but don't be
I know
telling
you're
me
shaking your
Trap's
head. I know
weakest
you're
is
shaking your head.
PvP.
No. His PvP is. Do you watch his stream all of his VODs and whatnot? Because I've seen his PvP.
I watch him forwards and backwards, Gemini.
All
Okay.
right, fair enough. I still see something that is lacking in his PvP compared to other matches. And Classic being the ultimate PvP right now, the only person that is like really like above Classic that you could argue is above Classic in PvP is SOS, I think. But even then, Classic is the only person that is beating SOS, and SOS is beating everyone else. And that was like leading up to Katowice and after Katowice. Trap's PvP is lacking in like I just always see it, but he's like getting a little bit better recently. I've seen. However, I do not see him. I cannot solidly say that Trap can beat Classic. I think that is the biggest thing that I'm looking at that's
I think
limiting him.
the biggest thing for Trap is like Dark versus Classic. If Dark wins, TY versus Trap is gonna be really hard for Trap. Like Trap does not want to play Classic in a lower bracket. I don't think so.
Yeah.
If Dark wins and TY wins, which is what I would say are the my predictions, but nothing would shock me here. Then I would say TY comes first, and then Dark probably comes second, taking out Classic in the lower. But yeah, if Trap does beat TY though, this is a very different group, I think.
Yeah.
So this kind of hinges on Trap versus TY.
I feel like Trap has to like practice super hard TVP, and PVZ in hopes to dodge Classic, but the hard thing is with Trap though is because him and TY's styles mix too well, in that Trap is someone who plays for late game a lot and who like relies a lot on like counter harass and stuff like that. He implements it very well. But TY is also the ultimate mega late game Terran player. So he's also going to be going for that. So it's going to be, I feel like there's going to be a couple clashes of really long games in their best of. And so I'm not sure how exactly that's going to line up exactly. So that's the only thing where I'm looking at, like, I don't know how this TY Trap matchup is actually going to work. But I still think that if he beats TY and Dark beats Classic, I think Trap goes ahead in first.
Yeah, I think so too. If you're beating TY too, like that's a huge safety net in my opinion. Like one of the scariest things about this group is going to be in the losers against TY or Dark, right? And I think if you did beat TY in the first series, like assuming on how like we can't see what it looks like yet, but if it was like a solid series, then you know his chances of getting out of this group like skyrocket in my opinion.
I still see the Classic matchup though as like if he can dodge, if he has to play that's like I don't think he can win that one. He has to dodge that as much as possible.
Okay, so my final prediction was TY Dark. Your final prediction is Trap and who?
I want to say Classic, but like I can't. Oh, fuck me.
Trap versus Classic is not coming. That's not possible. I think.
If
you have either one.
I have two predictions. I have if Trap first, then Dark. If not Trap, then Dark Classic.
Yeah. I think Dark is definitely going to be Classic. I think TY is going to take out Trap. And then anything can happen from there. It's just, everything's too wild at that point. I don't know. But Dark TY I kind of lean towards. All right, jumping into Group D. Stats, Byun, SOS, Gumiho. I look at this, right, and that's a very exciting group, and I think it's going to be a very fun group. And I'm going to cast that group. I'm going to have a lot of fun casting that group. But I think that's pretty clear stats SOS.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear to me. I look at that, I'm like, those two players are probably going to get out. This is the easiest to predict group, in my opinion. What do you guys think about that?
I think SOS is gonna trickster his way up as well into first. I think, let me look at the things real quick.
Stats versus Byun first. SOS
So stats versus Gumiho, I feel like, SOS versus Gumiho. I feel like SOS. I feel like he's very good in the mind game aspect, and when he's playing against someone who's also kind of trying to be that mind game person, like Gumiho is usually kind of known as the strategist. Kind of, he isn't super relying on mechanics and like super solid builds. He kind of throws his own thing. I feel like SOS has that one up on that when they try to like go to his style, like, you know, take someone, beat them down with experience kind of a thing. I just get this feeling that SOS is just the better player in that scenario. So I feel like he beats Gumiho. Stats just wipes the floor with Byun. And then SOS mind games stats in PvP. Because like I was saying earlier, no one but Classic is solidly winning against SOS in PvPs as of the last 3-ish months.
I think this most solid chance for an upset might be if Gumiho's stats playing the final match of the night. That's the one place where I could see Gumiho coming out, but I agree with your assessment basically 100%.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really uphill battle for the Terran players in this group. Like, I know the Marauder buff is great and all, but I don't know if it's gonna
It's not
make a
that
Dude, it's
difference
gonna be
here.
the greatest thing. You can even put it into mech, and Marauder Cyclone's gonna be broken.
Yeah. What about the
Are people
Marauder
saying
rushes?
that? Are people saying that?
I saw something with
That is not a
related
thing.
to
100% not a thing.
that.
Of all the groups, this is by far the easiest to predict. I think. Like
Yeah.
the other groups, we're talking like 6-7% predictions, but I'm thinking like, 15-20% chances of like these things happening, or 15-20% edge over the other person. So I think stats versus SOS for sure. Stats versus SOS PvP will be really interesting. I think that's really hard to predict. Like that could go either way.
SOS Hulk smashes stats. He breaks him through a fucking table. That's what happens. Come on.
Really? Okay. Well,
It's
then maybe I'm
honestly
wrong.
gonna be like I can honestly see a situation where the game's like it's a 2-1. However, it's very one-sided. All three games are very one-sided either way, and it
Yeah.
kind of just comes down to build order wins in PvP. However, I feel like SOS, you put him over top at stats all the time because his style just conflicts with stats so much. Stats is like the solid macro player, does normal builds. SOS will do whatever the fuck he wants, and you don't
Yeah.
know what the hell he's doing.
I guess we'll have to see. I'm not a PvP expert. I just think stats is in general is really, really solid, and he's really good at preparing for matches. So like I assume he would be preparing to come out first in this group, because coming first in this would be way better than coming second in your round of 8. Like, man, do you not want to come second in this round of 16? Like,
Yeah.
that is not happening for you. If you come out second, you're playing like Rogue or like somebody else.
Yeah.
And of course,
Maru
I'm
Rogue.
saying all of this, and then I have to take the sick backpedal and say, still anything could happen because these groups are nutty.
Yeah.
Man, Group C better have like insane viewership. Like that.
Dude.
That group is insane.
Oh my!
I'm going.
God.
You know what?
That
I'm going to
that
the
is
studio.
the top #1 GSL group
Shit.
in history. I'm
coming down. You'll see me. I'm coming on. On that studio.
This round of 16 is just
I'm
out
gonna
of control.
fly over just for that group.
Yeah.
And I do want to go ahead and call right now. Rogue's going to win the whole season. So that being said,
Well, not anymore.
yeah, no, definitely not. Okay, so we'll jump on from this. Thank you for you guys' review of Code S. It starts again on Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. KST. That's May 23rd in Korea. Next thing to jump to, because we are all very long-winded, and this has been great so far, but we'll go into the maps next, because the new map pool is out, and just to throw this out there is a little news piece on that where Neuro actually reviews the map, so I thought that was pretty cool that they're using more and more community people to kind of go over this stuff on the StarCraft2.com website. But the new maps, okay, so they removed Black Pink, Backwater, Biogenesis, Eastwatch, and Neon Violet Square. Some of the new maps that they made: 16-bit Dreamcatcher Lost and Found, Redshift, Darkness Sanctuary, that GSL map. And then, so the final map pool, I guess this should be Catalyst, Acid Plant, 16-bit, Lost and Found, Dreamcatcher, Redshift, and Darkness Sanctuary. Now, there's two different things I want to talk about here, is your guys' first impressions on these, on the new maps here, and the new map pool overall. And then, of course, E-Mini, I know you found a bunch of bugs on some of these maps, so we'll go after those right after we go over the maps in general, not counting those bugs. All right. Any thoughts on these new maps?
I'm just so confused at the selection and combination of some of them. So Darkness Sanctuary obviously is like the one big meme because everyone hates it. It's just a giant 4-player map. Like, losing to last Skeletal pool is always the greatest thing in the world, and there's so many things you could do to resurrect that inevitable loss. That's 100% a skill-based matchup. And then they put, like, the third is, like, super weird. The natural is really hard to wall off. There's a giant-ass cliff with Reaper. Like, it's such an awkwardly large map. And then they pair it with 16-bit, which is a in-base natural, also gargantuan map with no watchtowers. So it's like... They have that thing where they have just bringing in two giant maps. And again, I'm totally fine with just one giant map, but like having two of them is kind of crazy. And then they cycle out the most balanced map in Blackpink, leave Acid Plant, and then put in a map that is basically like designed in the same kind of pattern, and that like kind of wiggly, kind of like Z, like kind of pattern, and just kind of flip it over a little bit with Lost and Found. I just feel like the amount of diversity with some of the standard maps they chose is like they you don't have as much of it with what you could have if you left like Blackpink in or something with that. And then there's Redshift, which is kind of a meme. But
I think of all the maps,
like,
Lost and Found seems to be the best of all of them, and it's not a great map. It's not a great map, but I think like of these maps, Lost and Found is comfortable-ish. Like it's not insanely abusable, but like all the other maps, man, I feel like they're terrible. Like I don't want to blast them, but man, Darkness Sanctuary is like the biggest meme. I can almost do anything I want. I can go 3-hatch before pool. I can go 12 pool. I can go 13-12. I can go 14-4. I can do anything. 16-16. Whatever I want. I get to decide, right? Like no Protoss is stopping me from doing anything I want. No Terran player scouting my all in. No Zerg player scouting my 13-12. Like it's just not happening. So this map, I will win a GSL on. The other maps, like 16-bit is one of the worst maps ever for me.
Really?
Okay.
For me.
For
Why?
you, yes, I agree.
There is an in-base natural expansion that's accompanied by a really long rush distance and a really easy defendable third base. So like this map is going to be like the Turtley map. We're going to have a lot of late game on it. There's a lot of bases. Like I can already see like an easy 5 base kind of setup here. Like distinguishably 5 bases are really easy to take with an in-base, so you're obviously going to go into the late game really quickly here.
Mhm.
Like with an in-base, you're always projecting that late game really fast because it's really hard to break anybody on 2 bases. Plus, nobody wants to all in, right? Who's going to all in on an in-base map? So you just always have those late game
Hey, man.
situations.
I've been doing that. It's working pretty well. I don't expect
It
it.
shouldn't be, but
Oh, you're one of those guys that just cheeses for the first 5 days of the new maps.
No.
Yeah.
What?
You don't know how to
all
roll
in,
yet.
all in does not equal cheese, Mr. Artosis, okay?
I wish
I'm doing a strategical 2-base build that looks like you can macro out of it, but it's actually an all-in and they don't expect it.
I wish
And I'm only doing that one matchup every now and then. I'm doing macro every now and then.
if they would have dropped Darkness for Blackpink, I think I can work with this. I can work
I
with
agree.
it. It sucks, but I can work with it. Dropping Blackpink and adding Darkness, now this whole thing is just a shit show because you only have so many vetoes. Like there's a reason why Darkness is almost never played in GSL. There's a reason. It's not because people want to play on the maps they're more comfortable with. It's because this map is unplayable for some matchups. Like literally unplayable. So it sucks. Darkness Sanctuary is going to be a veto for almost every Protoss player ever versus Zerg. It's never going to happen.
Sanctuary? Oh, yeah, okay.
Yep.
And I would say that I think you're just going to see a lot of ZVZs on the ladder on that map, Jake. I
love
can't
it.
imagine
I would
Terran
love to see a
player
Zerg
ever
player
not
try it.
vetoing that.
I would love them to see them try and beat me on that map. It's not happening, guys. I can roll the dice. You'll never know what's happening. Dreamcatcher, like
It's
that's pretty much all I have to say. It's playable. Don't get me wrong. It's playable. Like it's better than Darkness, but I mean I haven't played enough games to see how it really is going to play out. Like there is an easy third base. There's an easy-ish fourth base-ish. Like looks like it could be abused by tank positioning a lot on this map. Like just looking at it right now, like I feel I'm going to be tank pushed every game by a Terran player. Like third base really easy to tank push. Maybe the fourth base too. Like there's this really thin wall. You can just drop your Marines on the other side of it and use the tanks to kind of shell anything that tries to attack the Marines. So in general, I think this will be a hell of a map for Terran. Like Zerg players will probably never play it in ZVT. ZVP, I think this is an okay map. Like it's not a great map for Protoss, but it's an okay map for Zerg. So it'll probably be played like when a map isn't great for Protoss, it still ends up making it through because some Protoss players don't give a damn. They just build shield batteries. They make the map good for them. They don't care. So
That's right. They balance find these too. I heard they're enhancements
Multiple
for
of 3.
the players also.
Yeah. Okay. Here, you let it out, guys. Redshift, I've had it unvetoed and I've never played it. I played like 30 games, never played it. Everyone else has vetoed it so far except for me. So love to see what happens, but yeah, I've never got the opportunity to play it. The abusable thing that Gemini showed, I don't know how much of a deal that makes. Maybe if you cannon rushing, that would be really,
we'll
really
talk
annoying.
about it, I think, after, right?
Well, let's jump into that actually, right?
Okay,
So
fair
you
enough.
found a few bugs on some of these maps, Gemini, and you've been posting them on Reddit and your Twitter account and all that. And specifically, we were just talking about Redshift, that it seems like a lot of people are vetoing with the gold minerals on the left-hand side of the map. And it seems like you're able to jump probes. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I just wanted to figure out if you could actually do it because it looked like if you look at where I actually do it, it looks like you can do it. So I figured, I might as well try it. And it just happened by chance that I was able to do it. At like a couple of times I tried and it didn't work. It obviously looks like the map creator made it so that the probe will bounce back if you try to squeeze it with a probe and a pylon. But I found out after a long time of doing this, if you have to click, there's this one tiny little place you can click on a specific corner in the little notch between two of the gold patches on the right side, and if you do it in a certain way, it allows the probe has to be facing a certain way that when you then place a pylon behind it, it pushes it through like really quickly too. Like it looks completely unnatural, and it's not natural because -0, the creator of the map even said this is not intended. So it's something that you have to like know the exact point that you have to click to make it do it, and it's best if it is moving leading up to it, because otherwise what happens is if you click on the spot and then like wait a second, it like the probe like wiggles a little bit and it might end up facing a slightly different direction than what it needs to be, and then it won't work. So there's a way that like you can squeeze it through really quickly, and then you can put a pylon behind there and do gateways, or you can do a cannon rush. If you do it to the point, if you do a cannon rush in PvP specifically, you can get the cannon on the low ground finished to defend a high ground pylon that's also out of vision before a normal timing of a probe scout would come and confirm that it's a forge.
Yeah, looking at it, like when you posted it, I think the most abusable thing you can do is cannon rush. I don't think you're gonna have too many other crazy things. Like, I really can't think of anything. Maybe proxy gate, but like,
yeah. So like, I'm trying to think of like ways that this could actually work. Tesla actually did this on ladder just today versus someone. I'll leave him unnamed so that he doesn't get humiliated. But he did this on ladder to someone. He did proxy gates versus a Terran, and he was able to win that. And that was even after it was scouted, but it wasn't scouted immediately. It was scouted like a little bit before the actual first zealots came out. So proxy gate can work if they don't respond perfectly. Other than that, cannon rush in PvP is the only thing I can see working. PvZ, this should never work ever, because the time that an overlord scout
it'll never work.
It'll always see it.
Yeah, their players will always send their overlord straight across to your opponent, so you'll always see anything like that happening.
I tried testing it to see if you could actually sneak the probe through the fog of war before the overlord can possibly get there, but it's not possible. You get like the probe and the overlord get there at the exact same time. Other than that, the only thing that I can see this being useful for is guaranteed scouts. There's no way to, well, unless you build buildings to like block where the probe would come out from, there's no way to block it. However, then you're leaving your main ramp open, so you can just go through the main ramp. So there's always a way you can guarantee a scout into their base, no matter where you wall off. That's specifically important for PvT. You can always get in to check the tech follow-up. So that's something that's very important. Like usually you go in, see the normal thing, like the barracks, whatever. If they're making something, if they have gas, whatever. You then have to leave because the Reaper's going to come out. Then you bring the probe back in once the Reaper's across the map, and you can get a rescout. Sometimes they deny it with a Marine. That you can just do that through the back now.
Yeah.
PvP, you can kind of do that as well. Anytime you want to check what they're doing for whatever reason, if you don't have a hallucination scout, I guess you can do that. But other than that, I don't see too many ways that this can be super brokenly abusable.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it'll make a huge deal. I'd be impressed if it actually gets patched, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
I honestly will be impressed if it's not patched.
I don't think it makes it big enough.
Because it's 100% unintentional, which is what makes me think that Blizzard will eventually patch it.
I'd be surprised if they don't. Like it seems like it should be easy.
I think
while I agree that there's not much implication, and once people do know that you can do it, it'll be very easily negated. I feel like they're still going to do it because it's an inefficiency with the map, and it's not meant to happen with the map itself. And so, even though I don't see
I think
why
the
they
people,
wouldn't
it would have
patch
already happened. I think if it was going to happen.
Well, I
That's
mean,
just my opinion. I feel like it's an
Blizzard isn't
fix.
always the super quickest on these implementations now.
I don't know. Like, I guess we'll see. Like,
I'll be honest with
think
you, I
if
hope
the
it
hype,
stays because it's honestly very fun to do it. Like just the mechanics, like seeing the probes.
I think it should
don't
be
know,
done.
it's actually fun.
I think it should be patched. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think it might not happen. Like, I feel like if it's not a completely game-breaking thing, it's usually pretty slow patch. So unless it just doesn't happen, like, I guess we'll have to see. If it doesn't happen by Austin, I don't think it'll happen. Like, if you're playing Austin with it, like, the chances are they won't change it. And that might be a reason why they may not patch it as well, because Austin's coming up. But I don't think it's abusable enough that it would be game breaking. So I'd love to see it patch. But
well, if everyone's aware of it, it seems like you can probably counter it reasonably well.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know you found at least one more bug on Lost and Found a Reaper bug.
Yeah. So this one's like not really that game breaking. It's just kind of a weird thing with the pathing, where it looks like there's a Reaper wall with like two little cliffs that come out, or two edges, I mean, and one of them is blocked by some like gas doodad on the bottom, so you can't jump off that part. And if you try to do a wall off with like a barracks and a supply depot and two barrackses, or the Protoss equivalent, which is what I was testing this for, a pylon and a gateway and a cyber, to try and wall that off, there's certain parts where the Reaper will like get stuck on the top and won't go up from the bottom. It's just really awkward, and I can't really explain it very well.
I watched it. It just seems like it's just a pathing issue.
Yeah,
like,
it's just a pathing issue.
There's nothing about it that's really crazy. It doesn't make much sense.
The way it wiggles.
That's it. Yeah.
So,
it just
like,
doesn't make any
I was
sense.
initially like saying I was trying to get in contact with like the map creator, and eventually he saw the tweet. I was trying to see if it was supposed to be intentional to be able to block that off in the way that I was doing. And apparently that's not the case. He said it was meant to be hard to wall off, so you do need an extra pylon if you wanted to do that. But the map, that was kind of the main reason why I wanted it. So otherwise it's just kind of like a weird pathing glitch, so it's not really that impactful.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing would be for PvT, but if you already have to use this many buildings to wall it off, it's probably not worth it.
I think you just say, screw it. The Reaper's coming in.
You would have to be building a pylon, a gateway, and a cyber, and then they still jump in, so it's just like, yeah, not worth it.
Well, the pylon gateway cyber, like that's like you can do that in a for a cliff wall off, but having to do an extra pylon with it, like that just gets rid of the.
That's like too much. It's like all your tech is there. Protoss started doing that, man. I proxy a factory and kill that shit with CJ. Any other bugs that you found?
No, the other one was fixed, but nice username found that on 16-bit, where they just like eliminated like a ramp randomly in like the top left of the map.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
It's like
I was kind of surprised with how many different. Like I was kind of surprised with how many different stuff was found though for this map pool, like specifically. Usually it's not. You don't see this much. But the Redshift one was like the more interesting.
Did they ever fix? I don't know if that was a fix or if it was supposed to be fixed. But you were complaining, because I remember reading the tweets about you complaining about the wall off on Darkness.
Oh yeah,
Is it still a shit wall?
Right. Yeah, they did fix that.
Okay.
They fixed that with the launch of it.
Yeah, because that would have been game changing as well.
Yeah, that's
like
the type of thing.
You just couldn't do the right wall off. Like you needed to do like the 3-gate double pylon wall off with the one pylon in the back.
Yeah.
But it just wouldn't allow you to build there for whatever reason.
Like the wall is still shit, but at least now
it's garbage, but it's at least not a completely exposed one pylon in the middle.
Do you
of
remember Daedalus Point?
Terrible, dude. I hated that map.
Oh man,
I didn't play a single ladder game on that map.
I love that map. I wish more Protoss played. Daedalus was like
I do. Man. Every game just fucking everything's on fire, man. It's the craziest map ever.
The only reason I remember that map is because that's the map that did the triple Nexus snipe against Hero in the IM Clone Finals, and the map that who was it? It was someone Revival in Jockji, I think, with the super large Widowmine hit on like on the cliff or something, and it like completely threw him the game against Mutas. I don't remember. That map was great.
Man. Great map.
So the new map pool, it is out right now, and it will be used in Austin, right?
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
Yeah, so should be pretty exciting to see that. And speaking of which, the new patch just came out. We already went over it last week. The anti-armor missile is from 30 to 15 damage. Auto turret cast range from 1 to 2. Marauder shot attack is no longer 2 shots, it's 1 shot, so basically it's better against armor. and Viking health increased by 10 hit points to 135. Do you guys have any impressions? Have you gotten to play on the patch a little? Does it feel different against Terran?
By the way, one quick thing before we do. I don't know, since we don't have any Terrans here, I don't know if you wanted any like Terran representation on the maps or anything, but I asked a few people if they wanted to do anything.
Please.
Oh, unless
we could have,
Do
special.
we want a cameo from special? Otherwise, I'll just talk about what Ray
it's
thinks
okay.
about.
We're running behind. Special is long-winded. We'll have him. Maybe next week.
All right, fair enough. I'm just gonna say real quick. He thinks Ray's a top Terran player who's switched to Protoss. He thinks it's one of the strongest Terran map pools that they've had.
Oh, okay.
He thinks Dreamcatcher isn't really that. It's bad, but it's not that bad. 16 bits, and he says it's really good, just kind of standard. Lost and Found will be decent versus Protoss. Not that great versus Zerg. Yeah, I don't know. There's a couple other things. Redshift he said Redshift might actually be the second most standard TVT map after Catalyst, because everyone's going to play it horizontally and just ignore the gold, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Okay, that kind of makes sense.
We are running late on other stuff, so I just want to try and bring other stuff.
Thank you for the input. Any thoughts on the new patches? The new patch that just came out?
I make disruptors versus Terran, so no.
I think the patch. Well, the biggest thing for ZVT is the Ravens, and I haven't seen too much of it played out yet. But I think it's a pretty big implication so far. Like, you'd have to make double the Ravens if you want to do the same thing you could do before.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not a huge late game expert, and even still, like, watching people around the house, like, it doesn't happen that much right now. Like, I haven't seen too many late games. Could be like the map pool still trying to be figured out.
Yeah.
But I think we do need time. I've heard specials really praising the Marauder buff, like, a lot.
Oh, that's good.
So the Marauder buff may be a pretty big change. I'm not a Terran player or a Protoss, so I can't really comment on that. But ZVT is definitely something that I would like to see. I need a little bit more time to really make a decision, but I think it is going to be a pretty big change for Ravens. Like, they might be used more as like an anti-armor instead of just blow up your entire army. Mm-hmm. So we might see like 2-3 Ravens instead of 30. And then we have like the late game army comp, but we'll see.
Well,
yeah, that's what I was kind of expecting too. I wasn't like, I was looking at it, I'm just like, okay, it looks like the Ravens going to go into what it actually looked like it was supposed to by the Blizzard standards of what they did with the redesign or whatever, instead of it just being massable, which is good. And to a more point on the Protoss, the Protoss effects of the Marauder buff, I just made a joke, but like, I think that there's still going to be I think this just evens the floor most part. Like, Protoss is still going to be strong. They're still going to be able to do like kind of some mass gateway stuff. However, they're not going to be able to stick on it for super long. Because a lot of times you see now people just kind of stick on mass gateway. They eventually go into into storm, and then they do some suicide storm bombs on top of the army out of War Prism. So like stuff like that, it's going to have to be not as reliant on the gateway for as long, because the Marauder buff is actually quite strong. Like, I've been seeing it on some streams, especially Parting, who does a lot of the mass gateway styles. The Marauders have been affecting him pretty noticeably. So I will be expecting to see Terran having a bigger leverage in mid game versus Protoss in that regard. However, I make Ruptors every game, so that doesn't do anything to them.
You can ignore all this. You don't care about that.
I am the special Protoss. Eventually that unit's gonna get nerfed too, I bet, because everyone complains about it.
Well, normally the Disruptor only gets nerfed when no one's complaining about it, so I don't know.
It's true, you're right. So I'm honestly surprised now that it's actually still so good. So yeah. But so many people have been not using it that I feel like people might start using it now, and people are going to realize how broken it is, because it's honestly super strong.
Yeah, it's starting to come back relatively recently, I would say. It's starting to come back in like mainstream PvT. Like, there was a period where no one made disruptors at all. Like, just that weird Protoss that nobody liked was building them. No, I'm just kidding. Like, this is not a shout to M. Canning, by the way.
I thought it was.
I mean, I'm talking about like that random GSL player who just uses disruptors randomly. Like, it happens very rarely, but now it's starting to gain more traction. Also, Puck really used it a lot, but I didn't really see anyone doing it on ladder in Korea until like Puck started doing it a lot, like every game a lot. So this is like a relatively recent thing to start happening. So we might see this gain more traction already. Like, the complaints of disruptors, they seem to be more common lately. Blinkstalker disruptor.
Yeah. Well, especially with these changes, I could see it becoming more popular. Anyways, your Colossus are going to do so much worse against the Marauders and the increased Viking health, so makes sense. Okay, jumping from that, just a really quick thing. Not a lot to talk about as far as StarCraft 1 this week. ASL, we just had the fourth place match. Hero beat Mini 3-2, and Game 5 is one of the best Brood War games ever played.
I
Go
actually
check
got to
that
watch
out.
it. Oh my god,
That was
so
insane,
sick.
right? Oh
Yes.
my, like, well, that's a good Brood War game right there. I've
That was
never seen a
great.
game like that. I never will again, and it's pretty insane. So pretty cool there. And Hero kind of having a sad farewell on stage with his interview. He's going to be going to the military. So I think we're going to lose one of our best Zergs in StarCraft 1, but plenty of guys coming up to take his place. So that's about. Sorry, there's not a lot for StarCraft 1 this week, guys. There is.
If you haven't watched it, like I'm not a huge StarCraft 1 fan. I played it a lot, but man, that game was insane. Even if you're a StarCraft 2 viewer right now, go watch it. I don't care if you don't know what's going on in Brood War.
You'll
love
enjoy it.
Regardless.
You know what the Hydralisk is. You know what Psy Storm is.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It's basically all you need.
Game.
It was pretty mad. Love that one. A couple more quick things to talk about before we get to the user questions at the end of the show. First off, no regret, the Team House. I was hoping to do a big segment on this. I guess maybe we'll do a big segment another time. And I actually, people don't know this, but I gave you a nice long interview before WCS Leipzig, and I haven't put it up yet because I'm a lazy nerd. But I mean, the Team House obviously is showing some great results and all that, and you have some new people coming out, right?
Yeah, I do. So this month, these are the most standard players in the Team House right now. Like we have like a Laser, sort of Xanster. Like they all come back. They're all relatively standard. Drogo. You know, like they all are here for a really long time. But the next month we have players that don't come or have never came before. Neeb came here a couple of times and he always does extremely well. So I'm really excited to see it. But next month there's only going to be 6 players, but of those 6, it's really awesome. So we have Neeb and Raynor, which is
Sick.
insane. I would love to see Raynor play. He's like on the huge high up hype train.
Yeah.
And it'll be like one of his first WCS circuit stuff, right? Because he's too
How
young.
old is he, by the way?
He's 15.
15. He's going to be living in the house with you guys. All right. That is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we don't taint him too much. He should be fine. Special and him are about the same age. I'm just kidding. Oh shit, he's listening. I see it over there. Anyways, continuing. So yeah, I'm extremely excited to see Raynor play. And Neeb coming back. Neeb is always welcome here. He seems to do really well at the WCS events afterwards. Like a lot of the WCS events he championed were off of the back of Korea. Not all of them, maybe 50%. So really excited to see him. Hopefully this is his first season actually getting out of the GSL qualifier. Like last season, or the one season he did play, he played Hurricane, and it was right off the flight. And we talked a lot about it, and he's a really good PvP player, but Koreans just play PvP way different than foreigners. So if you don't have that time period of adjustment, like it's very easy to just lose. So he said that he didn't feel like he was playing worse because of the flight. He just felt like he was playing North American PvP, which is not necessarily as viable as Korean PvP. Okay. So hopefully he'll have more time to adjust, and if he makes it into the GSL, like I would love to see that. It's going to be so awesome seeing him play in the round of 32. I would say he's, you know, almost a favorite every time. Like depending on what group he gets, like he should definitely be able to make it out of the round of 32. Round of 16, like it's going to be really sick. So hopefully everything goes well. I think Raynor has a good shot at qualifying for GSL. So we'll see. Raynor making it through at 15 would be awesome. A huge storyline for everyone to see. I think either way, those two foreigners would have, you know, great storylines in GSL. And we have Special still playing in the qualifier. So it'll be me, Special, maybe Drogo, Raynor, Neeb, and Hurricane from this house playing in the qualifier. So we'll have to see how they do.
So is that the full house for the next little swing?
Maybe Roddy.
Maybe Roddy.
Maybe Roddy. I would love to have Roddy here for the qualifier. That'll be awesome. No plans have been made, so no one could reach out to him and be like, hey man, I heard you go to Korea.
Yeah.
Like he's thinking about it. I think he'd be great to have here. Like even if you don't think you will qualify, like it's one of the best experiences to come here and you know, go to the qualifier. Like Gemini can probably testify for this. Like it's actually just a great experience, even if you don't qualify, just going out there. All the Koreans are super nice. Like they'll hang out with you, they'll speak English to you, like they'll do everything, hang out. So it's just a great experience. If you ever wanted to be in the GSL, like even if you're not there for qualifying levels, you should do it. You know, like it's just a great experience.
It is fun. I have a question about the house, by the way.
Sure.
Why isn't Cyril coming out and trying to qualify for GSL?
I don't know. I asked him. Like maybe he just didn't see my message, but he just ignored me. My guess is
not famous enough. Sorry, dude.
my guess is he was, you know, the busy middle winning of a tournament or something and just couldn't respond because he has been here before. It's not the first time.
Yeah.
The other time he was preparing for BlizzCon or something. And
I would love to see him come out and try for GSL, right? There's so much hype behind Cyril at this point that people are making fun of you, Thermal, for being upset that he lost to him. Someone with that much hype should play in GSL qualifiers. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think he'd do great. I think he would certainly get to round of 16 minimally. Like, I don't see why they don't. Like, even if you skip Challenger and you, you know, qualify for GSL,
it's not like you're gonna die in the open bracket. Like, you're fine.
That's twice as much as winning Challenger.
Yeah.
So even if you're Cyril, where you're going to win Challenger, you can still get twice as much money and twice as much street cred going to GSL qualifying. So I would love to see them come. And this is actually the last season, right? The next coming up for GSL.
Yeah. Well, we have another super tournament as well that you can qualify for, but that's even harder with only 16 players. So
is that the same time period?
No, super tournament, I believe, is going to be after season 3, if I'm not mistaken. So more towards the end of the year.
It's insane that we're at the season 3 qualifiers in like June, you know? Like July, August, September, October, November. That's 6 months of like...
Are they in June? Or in July?
Yeah,
okay.
They're in June,
yes. Okay. Yeah.
I got a calendar, so...
Yeah.
It's insane, though. Like, so quick, so...
Wait,
hopefully,
what's in June?
The next GSL qualifier.
No, it's in the qualifier? Is it at the end? Because like it says it starts
like
in July,
the qualifier is before the season final, the GSL final. I don't know if I can say.
Yeah.
Like I've gotten insider info, so I don't know what I can say. But I know, as far as I know, it's going to be mid June. So it's just very fast.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to go play, you better contact.
The house is actually like we only have 6 people, so technically there's 4 spots right now.
All right.
But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. All right. So exciting stuff about that. Can't wait to see if Neve and Rainer can make it through, and of course the regular crew. Just jumping real quick to another thing, Gemini, you've been making build order guides for Team Liquid, right?
This is correct.
Can you tell us a little bit about this? What goes into it? How do you end up doing these? How do you choose them and all that stuff? And why are there no cool Zerg or Terran equivalents of you? Are Protoss people just better people? I don't know.
I don't know. I can't answer that question without tooting my horn too much. But yeah, I've been doing this for a while, where actually over 4 years now, where it's called the build of the week. I just decided to do it at one point in time where I just take a build, get the write-up for it, explain it, and give the VOD and whatnot so that people can learn from it. Because like it's something that I've not seen done consistently, so I felt like I should try to fill that hole, I guess. And it's just my overall goal to show the like the Protoss community, the people who play Protoss, that show them the different advantages of their race, show them the different opportunities they have, and just kind of expand their overall general knowledge. And I just came out with the most recent one last Saturday, this last Saturday, and it's the SOS macro blink DT build. So it's quite interesting and unique one. So that's one of the reasons why I do it, is to kind of bring out new and interesting things and show it while it's still nice and fresh. So yeah, I don't know why more Terran or Zergs don't do it for their stuff. Why other Protoss players haven't done it before, but it's something that I try to do just to because I'm going into being a teacher as well, so I'm just kind of naturally I just like doing things revolving around education in general. So I just wanted to give as much educational content as I can, as with as much deep analysis as possible, since I feel like I understand the game to a point where I can do that. So yeah, I put them on All Things Protoss, which is the Protoss subreddit basically on Reddit. So all things reddit.com/r/allthingsprotoss. They also get uploaded to Spawning Tool, which is the other like partner with TL, So you can use the spawning tool with that, where it puts a little overlay on your monitor, so you can see what you're doing while you're doing it. And then they get posted on TL, usually a little bit late though, because it's kind of they have a bunch of other stuff they're putting up there as well. So sometimes it gets backlogged. But yeah, those are the 3 places you can check it out. And yeah, that's my sellout.
Well, I mean, it's truly not a sellout. You're not making
Yeah,
a sick bank from this for sure.
This is just stuff that I think the community really needs. It's like there's no reason for it not to be done. Like you just need someone who's competent in understanding what's happening to dissect it for lower level players, and we just don't see it happening very much. But I think this is really good thing for new players and new people getting interested in StarCraft. So if you turn anyone into like a proper, someone who's properly interested in improving, that's always a really good thing for the community. Like even if you turn 1 or 2 people into like people who want to be competitive in StarCraft, like who knows, you may influence the next Neeb, it's possible.
And before
be,
Neve is taking all my builds right up and putting them in his back pocket.
I actually have a question regarding this. I actually rip a lot of build orders myself, just personally, that I keep in my notebooks, which I don't generally share. But I wonder when you rip a build, what do you do? Like to do this? Like what are you looking for specifically? What is the methodology behind this?
Okay. So there's a couple things, and it gets more difficult when it comes to if it's a VOD or if it's a replay. If it's a replay, it's like super fucking easy. You just have everything right there for you, and I can do like super in-depth stuff. Like the build order that I did before this, which was traps. It was the Oracle Gladept pressure versus Zerg into double robo. He did this like so many times at Katowice, and we got all those replays. So I was able to go super ham in depth as to all the different reactions that he could do. But normally I don't have that opportunity. So I generally just take the build order itself, what I can get from the VOD. And like if I can't see like the production tab or whatever, I have to like look at the mini map and like hope I can see when he builds something and like figure out like do like reverse psychology or some whatever bullshit. And like generally though, I kind of take as what it actually is. I take the build, I just rip it, look at it, and see if this is considered standard. If not, then I have to look at it and see how I can tweak it to then allow it to be used by the masses, like in low league, gold, whatever. Because especially for people like SOS, or if there's like a weird Zest game, like there's a one build that I did from Zest where the opening itself was very solid, but the way he played it in the mid game and late game was just like super wacky and like not what you should be doing. So I'll rip the actual build itself and then mold it around what I know to be the conceptual standards of how to play off of that, and then give that as my own tweak to it. However, there's a lot of times where I don't even need to do that because, like I said, the replays can be available to allow me to do that, or the build itself will just be like really standard, and I don't have to really tweak it all that much. But yeah, I can't think of too many other things that I usually would tweak it. But that's the general idea. I usually kind of look to see if is it solid. Can I just copy this directly, or do I have to make my own kind of tweaks and figure out where exactly this can be used for anyone to easily pick up?
Cool. And they say that like one of the best ways to learn something or to make sure that you know something is to try to teach it to somebody else. Do you find your skill level going up taking these build orders, and would you suggest for up and coming players to try doing such a thing, if so?
So I personally feel that yes, my skill level increases having done this, just because I feel like I get such a larger breadth of knowledge in like studying all these games, and it kind of like forces me to do it, because like a lot of times you play and you just ladder and you don't really do super in-depth analysis on pro games. You kind of look at a game and you're like, yeah, okay, I kind of know where this is going. I know what this game means and how I can implement it, but you don't really like go into it. And so this kind of forces me to do that almost, like, because I'm doing it more often just because I know I have to write stuff on it. So because of that, I feel like it's like kind of just naturally helped me improve as a player. And sorry, what was the second part of the question? I think there was one.
Like if you feel like it's improving you, would you suggest for up and coming players to try going about like ripping some build orders themselves?
No, because then they don't have to read my content. Just kidding. Honestly, yes, and it's honestly kind of something that I see as kind of confusing as well when like someone sees a game that they want to they see a build they want to copy, and they're like, hey, can you do a build or a write up on this? And I'm just like, Sure, I might be able to if I feel like I need to, but like you could also rip it yourself, you know, like you can do like it's
Mm.
totally within your power. It's not like I have some superpower to be able to look at a
Yeah.
VOD and
I
write
think
down when everything happens. But
the only
um,
time that's really a big deal is like if you have someone that's not capable of understanding what's going on when
no,
they see it.
yes, yeah, I
So that's
definitely
why I
agree.
said I think the biggest reason, like the biggest benefit for stuff like this is this is actually the job of a caster a lot of the time, is you're observing what others may or may not be able to observe, and you're speaking it and making it digestible for newer viewers, right? So like when you take a build guide or something like that, because even everyone starts with this stuff. Like I remember looking up Team Liquid guides on like just simple build orders, because you need something to grab onto before you can really,
Mm.
build your own branches off of your tree. You need roots. And that's kind of where it comes from, is you always take that information that someone else understands better than you, and you read it, and then eventually you can take that and become a better player. It makes sense, and then you just get into it more. So it just
Yeah,
takes
I
time.
definitely, yeah, I agree with that. And I was saying it partially in jest, just because like just the way that it sometimes gets asked. But like I obviously see the value in that I bring to it just by having an actual write up with it. But yeah, I do think that if you were to try to do it yourself, to try and just rip the VODs and kind of look at it yourself at first, that it could definitely improve your own play. However, like Norgret said, you still need that proper backbone. If you don't have the general backbone knowledge of how this should be implemented, it can be confusing to figure out how that is just by looking at a replay itself. And that's where people like me
Like
explaining it or other casters or something comes in.
like if you're in gold and you have like, let's just say you've got the DL, you've got rogues replays or something. Like a gold player is not going to dissect rogues replays and implement it into their own builds. Like it's just impossible.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm. All right. Well, excellent. Thank you on behalf of everyone for doing that. Both of you, in fact, big contributors to the non-Korean scene, no doubt. We have to get into the Q&A section. We're already 7 minutes over the show time, but we have to do our Q&A. So we're going
Man,
to
I'll
get
stay
into
here
there.
till 12 o'clock. I'll answer every single question. I'm just gonna...
Thank you. I do appreciate it. If anyone logs off now, it's going to be pretty awkward with just me doing the Q&A. But just to let people know, we do have a Patreon up for the show, patreon.com/ThePylonShow. And one of the tiers is you get to ask your questions, and they are like basically guaranteed to be asked as long as they aren't completely shit questions. It's in our Discord. The Discord is the Pylon Show Discord, and you can find that link in the chat and post it on all of our social medias and stuff. So definitely check that out. Anyways, jumping into the premium questions to start. This is a really good one for No Regret, actually. Someone asked from Bihamicha 123, what's the ideal monitor size you think for optimal play experience in StarCraft?
I think ideally 24-inch 144 hertz is probably more than enough. You don't need a bigger monitor, and you don't want a bigger monitor. I think the biggest thing is if you ever want to be competitive in StarCraft 2, you want to use the monitor that everyone uses professionally. And I've never seen bigger than 24-inch at a tournament. So there's no reason to be playing on a bigger monitor. And you don't even need 144 hertz if you don't want it. But I noticed it does make a difference, and it's definitely more enjoyable to play on a 144 hertz monitor than a 60. But make sure that once you go to 144 hertz, you won't be going back. So make sure that you're willing to like if you play in multiple setups or something, they all have to have 144 hertz if you use once, because you'll get addicted to it. But yeah, 24-inch 144 hertz.
All right, excellent. Here's a question for everybody. Which announcer or announcers do you like to use when playing the game?
So
Even if that's default.
I used Tastosis for a long time.
There we go. Right answer.
Yeah, it is the correct answer. I know. I can't get over the GG. It's just so perfect. But I started using the Parkcaster as well, because gotta channel my inner Korean wannabe. I don't know. And they also have the nice GG for that too, so it's comparable. But I still put Tastosis as my number one.
Thank you.
I use default, but there's a reason for it. I love Tastosis. Like obviously, love it.
No,
right, guys? No. The reason why I don't use it is because if I go to a tournament and I have to play on their Blizzard accounts or whatever, you don't have those packs or whatever. Like you just don't have them. You don't have announcers, so you have to get used to 2 announcers if you do that. So like I bought it to support, and then I play with it every now and then, but I can't practice with it only because if I do, I will not be able to use that announcer when I play in a tournament. And it's just a
That makes
subtle
sense, actually.
difference, but like it actually does matter. Like you maybe think, well, it's still English, but like it just the game feels different when you're listening to a different announcer. So
Totally agree with that. Yeah, like I used to actually play with Korean sound on, and then I got nuked and realized that I
Dude,
am not
okay,
going to
I
be
have
able
the
to quickly
funniest
get the
story.
nuke thing.
I have the funniest
Yeah.
story related to that. I had the Korean. I would sometimes put the Korean announcers on just because I wanted to do that. And I played a game versus Rough, and it was a proxy, whatever. Like I think it started with proxy ghost, and eventually there was a nuke that came off. I didn't hear this nuke go off. I lose every single probe. I don't know, like a one base nuke rush shit or something. And I go back, I'm like, I did not hear this fucking announcer. Like, I didn't hear the thing. And then I go back and forget that it's in Korean. I didn't actually hear it.
Yeah.
I came back from that game the only one, though. So,
All right. All right. Sick shout out there. A lot of people think that I would use the Tastosis announcer pack. I do not actually want to listen to me and Nick while I play StarCraft, so I do not. I like the Protoss announcers, like what is it, Artanis and Phoenix. I use. They both have them, or am I just using Artanis? But yeah, no, I think Phoenix might be my favorite one. I haven't looked in a while because I just kind of leave it on those Protoss ones. I've tried all of them, but yeah, I like those two quite a bit. Okay, next question. What former caster, personality, or player would you like to see return? Who do you guys miss? That's gone now.
I think I don't want to be that guy that says, "Oh, I miss Idra, love Idra," because like everyone does that. That's like the biggest thing, right?
Yeah,
Everyone misses Idra, and I think to be honest, I do miss Idra. I think he was a great thing, but I think having personality is just the biggest thing that we need. So just thinking back, like the big personalities always stick out to you that you want them back. Like I think Huck was great, Idra's great. Like all those personalities were great. I think I'm trying to think of a good personality that would actually. I think Destiny would have been a good personality to keep having, because I think he's actually just really good for StarCraft. Like having a consistent streamer with 2K and 3K viewers, that's really good for StarCraft. So in general, having someone like that that's just consistently pumping out StarCraft content would be the best for us. So maybe Destiny.
Gemini?
Liquid Hero.
Rip. It's, all right. I should have known that you were going to say that. For me, I don't know. I miss Nestea a lot. The thing is, when I think about pros, none of them would actually keep up nowadays, so I don't really want to name that so much. I miss Husky, and the amount of people that he really brought into the game was actually just ginormous. It was crazy how many people got into StarCraft through Husky. There are literally people that I knew in like high school. They're like, "Oh yeah, no, I watch Husky. He's so great," and they like don't even realize, or they found out that I cast StarCraft through Husky. So it's like that's how huge that guy was. And he was such a sweet guy. I liked him a lot. So that was.
I think Husky is probably one of the biggest personalities we should have back for StarCraft. Like he'd be so big if he just continued to do that stuff for us.
Yeah,
I used to stay up all night and watch every single new video that he would upload back in like high school or whatever, like on my iPod.
He was such an exciting caster too. It was
so fun. It was no one did it like that before.
Yeah. All right. Nice question there. Thank you, Neox. The last question before that from Bestine. Thanks. And one more question from that premium chat. Bob B asks, what unit, if taken from StarCraft 2, would shatter any Brood War meta? Like example, Banshees for Terran on Sparkle. And side question, would you see any pros switch from SC2 to StarCraft Brood War if such a change existed? Bjorn, if Reapers were added. Okay, so I can answer just real quick on the shattering of the meta. Just about every unit would do that. They're very different. So, like for instance, if the Banshee was in StarCraft 1, a Terran player would never ever lose ever again. Just in general, the damage output of StarCraft 2 units is so unfathomably high, and the mobility of everything is so unfathomably high that all of them would probably break the game. Now, to ask if any pros would switch from StarCraft 2 to StarCraft Brood War, possibly some Koreans would. Already we have people doing that. Like right now, 4GG streams StarCraft 1 all day, right? And like a lot of people in Korea might be going back, but if you put any StarCraft 2 units in StarCraft Brood War, all the actual StarCraft Brood War pros probably
you could the best thing is you could just take StarCraft 2 units that are in Brood War and put them into Brood War. You know what I mean? Like if you take Storm or High Templar from StarCraft 2 and put them in or whatever, like it's all so strong.
It is. Well, actually, Psystorm in StarCraft 1 does more damage. Yeah. But they don't have like feedback or anything, so
feedback is pretty strong.
Yeah, it's a pretty good spell. Oh, During this, Fear Dragon added another question to this. So for no Rugrats, what do you consider yourself first and foremost now? A content creator, a house owner, a pro player, a caster? What is it? What are you?
I don't know. I think right now I'm still a pro player, but I want to move away from it more. Like I'm playing a lot less right now. I deviate my time between all those pretty comfortably right now. Like I'm doing a lot of production stuff right now. Mostly research for tournaments that I want to produce myself. So I'd say probably number one right now is managing. Like I'm trying to make sure all the players are happy, and I'm bringing in new players. Like I'm bringing in Rainer and Neeb and all them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and also casting is coming up a lot more lately. Like I've been doing a lot more GSL and stuff like that, and I've been getting so much praise for it. So I feel very comfortable doing that and stuff like that. I don't know. So basically, to answer Robbie's question, none. I don't have one thing. I do everything.
You're in this weird in between segment.
Yeah. I think most pro gamers have this, like when they're transitioning out, and if they want to continue esports, they always have this like transitional period where they're still a player, but they're not that good, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I gotcha. All right. That is all the premium questions. I'm going to jump into the other chat and just grab a couple questions real quick in the Pylon Show Discord. Sorry we didn't get to do a ton of these questions today. I've actually already gone 15 minutes over. Normally in control of everything here, but he's not here, so I fucked up and the show is too long. Okay, here's a question from Commander X to Gemini. Do you have intentions of going full-time pro at a certain point, like after your studies or anything like that? For those of you who don't know, Gemini is a Grandmaster Protoss. He's a good player. So
I did at one point, and the reason why you don't hear anything about this is because I didn't do anything with it, because I'm just a GM shitter NA. But I tried to. So like I took a break after my first year of college just because I wanted a break from college, and I was like overstressed from like just schoolwork, and I wanted a mental reset, and I've always wanted to try and like actually play full time, so like I did for a bit. Again, that was only for like a year. I agreed like I was only going to do it for that long and then go back to school. However, anytime after that, I can't see myself doing it. Like, would it be cool to do it again and try it? Like, sure, but like it's just not really viable for me anymore, especially because I'm going to be like I'm in school to be a teacher, so I have to either like once I come out of college, I have to be like start looking for stuff right away. I either have to like go to like my two options are go to Korea and try to do stuff over there, which is what I really want to, or I have to try to build upon what I've started to with my own work here. Otherwise, I feel like I'll just get stuck behind and won't be able to find a job. So that is that's my reason for it. But that's also why this summer I'm trying to do like a lot of SCG stuff because I feel like it's one of the last times that I'll be able to devote that much time to it. So yeah, that's my shorter answer.
All right, excellent. One more question up here. To no regret from Alessander. Can you talk about how the house works? Let's shorten that a little bit. He also asks, who decides who can come and for how long, and who gets special bed that we raised money for last year? I'm not really sure what that it means, but yeah.
Special gets special's bed because Special's still here. But and the way it works right now is I'm basically the supreme leader. I get to do everything. It's really hard, man. Like it's really hard when we're at 10 people because I know I have to pick who comes and who goes, and I'm trying to be as fair as possible. But usually the way it works is people who are in the house right now have preference. Obviously, I can't just be like, all right, well, your month is over. Yeah. Bye. So there's a lot of things that go into my decisions, but it's usually A, how well does the person work with everybody else here? So we all talk about it pretty openly to each other. B, who's here now and who plans to come for a longer period of time. For example, let's say Cyril plans to come for 1 month, but I have to kick someone who wants to stay here for 4 or 5 months to have Cyril here, then obviously I'm not going to pick Cyril over that person. So it just depends on who's here, when they're here, and how well they mesh with everybody else. But that's basically it. Like I just pick with the information that everyone else gives me, and we talk about it like a democracy. But in reality, I pretty much have the final say on it. And the way the internals work for the house is right now we have everyone pays rent that stays here, and that rent contributes to our rent. That's about it. Everyone pays $300 a month to stay here, and in general, we lose maybe like $50 to $100 a month, which is like really good actually. Like the balance of the house is really, really comfortable right now. That's very easily to cover. And yeah, right now the house has been the best financial position it's ever been in. Like before, we would go months without anybody, but right now it's been full every single month since we started it this year, except for next month. And the only reason why next month isn't full is because we have there's 2 tournaments, and there's only a month in between, and no one wants to come to Korea for this short period of time. When there's a challenger in the middle of it, there's Home Story, there's a bunch of other tournaments, and we still have Rainer and we still have Neeb, so very happy. But yeah, that's basically how the house works. Is it's just friends living here and they pay rent. That's about it.
Cool. And we didn't really get to do the house justice today, but I'm sure we'll talk about that more in the future.
You could do the house justice.
I will, I promise. I have a sick interview with No Regret. I'll get it up. I wanted to get it up before today, but if I didn't get it up in January, why would I have it up today, right?
He had to be late on something. He's doing real good on the Pylon.
I know. I can
Yeah,
only do
that was
I can
it.
only
He
do
had
it
to
at
have.
time.
He had to follow through on some promise. Come on.
On every promise except
At least he showed
I
up.
barely made it for the Pylon show today, and we're already 21 minutes over. So we're gonna wrap. Sorry we didn't get more questions into everyone. Make sure you join the Pylon Discord for that. And of course, shout outs to my guests here. No Regret. Where can people find you, support you, check out what you're doing next, all that stuff?
In general, my Twitter is basically the house Twitter right now. We don't have a separate one. So if you want to support the house or have any information or questions about it, feel free to contact me on my Twitter. I will tweet about it periodically. I was tweeting like reviews and stuff just for fun. So like any house stuff, you can find me on Twitter. That's about it for supporting. Like I do YouTube and Twitch, but yeah, no big deal on that. Just if you follow the Twitter, you'll know about all that stuff. So Twitter, YouTube, Twitch.
Excellent. And Gemini, how about you? How do we find your stuff and contact you and all this great stuff?
All right, let me do my sick in control attempted sellout from the old EG days. So my Twitter, ggemini19. It's not actually emini, like someone here thinks. Twitch is Gemini SC2. YouTube is like Gemini_19 or something like that. But yeah, you can check me out there. All Things Protoss, like I said earlier, shout out to them. I do most of the content over there, as well as a bunch of other people. So if you're interested in anything Protoss related, you can go there. Check out all the resources we have, ask some questions, give replays. Tons of people there offering help, and you can easily improve your play from there. And then also one big shout out to my new team and team owner, Scythe Esports, owned by Toast, who is you may know him as the host of Dank Shrine. He's helping me get to WCS Austin at the end of this month, so I'll be there. Big shout out to him. I really appreciate it, and I'll be helping them as well improve, and I'll be like a player coach kind of role there. So that's like a huge opportunity. I really am appreciative of that. And so yeah, if you're at Austin and you apparently know me, go ahead and say hi, because nothing bloats my ego more than having random people on the internet say that they know me and appreciate. So other than that, yeah, that's pretty much it. And thank you for having me on. I very much appreciate it. It's a big honor.
Well, thank you guys both for being on. You're doing great things for the community, and that's great to see. As far as me and In Control as well, I'm sure he'll be back for next week, and I guess we'll probably, unless he has to fly out for Austin that day, that could be a thing, right? Isn't that? Yeah,
It's very much a thing.
We're getting close. Oh, maybe not next week, but the week after.
Next week after, yeah.
Yeah, but we'll do a preview show for that next time for Austin. Hopefully the groups will be out. A couple things to talk about as far as the Pylon show goes. Make sure that if you want to help out, one of the best ways with the Pylon show would be to just like subscribe to it, like check it out on YouTube or on the stream. Tell people about it. Check it out on iTunes or the other podcast things. We put the links out all the time. You can check out the Pylon show on Twitter. We're also sponsored right now by Matcherino.com, which does a lot of great things within esports, and especially StarCraft. And you can definitely check out the Pylon on there. We have all sorts of little stretch goals and everything with show matches, a C2 off race between me and Jeff. Of course, I'll win that. Brood War show match, and that would be casted by myself and Jeff, but if we played it, I would win that as well. And then Jeff versus Dan, best of 3. casted by super special guests. Of course, I would win that if we do make that stretch goal. But if you want to see Jeff die, that's a great place to do it. We have a T-shirt up right now, only 20 of them. I think it's like Jeff's logo, and we're going to put up some more in the future as well, so you can check that out. Of course, our Patreon is up, patreon.com/ThePylonShow. We've had a lot of support there. Thank you guys a lot. And you can go there and read all about it and support the show if you'd like. And, you know, we're working it up, and it seems like we already have a lot of supporters. So thank you so much to everyone who's doing that. It's really appreciated. So that's about it. Thank you so much to No Regret and Gemini, and of course, Cobra Venom, our amazing producer, without whom this would just so never happen, not even close. So yeah, thanks guys for watching, and we will see you next week.